Chapter 648. After transforming into the evil spirits, Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed, and with a wave of his hand, the heavenly nether divine sword appeared in his hand, and the black flame wings on his back disappeared instantly. Immediately, all of the divine runes on the heavenly nether divine sword lit up, making it look very dazzling. Break! Yi Tianyun stepped forward and created a pit on the ground. Then, he threw himself towards the heavenly netherworld divine nation. Yi Tianyun's speed was so fast that he turned into a black light whistling away. The black flame wrapped around his body was like a beautiful black rose blooming in the air. However, the power of this black rose had reached an unprecedented level, and when it was used on the heavenly nether divine sword, its combat power reached as high as 17 billion. With his cultivation at the peak of the Spirit King stage, he could deal 16 times the damage, and with the evil spirits set, his combat power immediately reached 17 billion. If there was an ordinary Holy King or Spirit King stage expert standing nearby, his body would be instantly pierced and burned to ashes. Now that it was pierced through, even the void was about to be burned away. The surrounding walls were being burned to ashes inch by the scorching flames. The terrifying power made Heavenly Nether Holy Lord's pupils shrink, and a sense of crisis surged in his heart. Open! Heavenly Nether Holy King quickly formed a hand seal, and the divine artifact in his body quickly bloomed with stronger power. Layers of defense appeared outside his body, and it was several times stronger than the one he used to block the three old ancestors. It was obvious that this was the strongest defensive effect he could unleash. Previously, he had only used half of his strength. Now that he felt the crisis, he immediately used all of his strength to block Yi Tianyun's terrifying attack. He had a hunch that if he didn't do this, he would be pierced through by Yi Tianyun. He didn't have the appraisal eye, so he didn't know how strong the black rose was, so he could only choose to strengthen his defense. He wanted to quickly dodge or use other power to block the black rose, but he couldn't do that now. Once he left this place, it would be very difficult for him to continue absorbing souls. Once he severed the connection, the three patriarchs would definitely return to suppress this place and prevent him from continuing. What powerful defense! I didn't think that the other party would only use half of his strength when we were dealing with him earlier. We have really been underestimated. The faces of the three old ancestors darkened. They had already given it their all, but the other party had only used half of his strength. Wasn't that looking down on them? In reality, he was looking down on them. The three old ancestors indeed cooperated extremely well, but their cultivations were still too low. A higher official could crush a person to death. In this place, a higher cultivation level was enough to crush the three of them to death. No matter how strong their cooperation was, if the difference in cultivation was too great, there was no way for them to make up for it. Following that, the Nether Heaven Divine Sword pierced through layer after layer of such a strong defensive power. It was as if it was piercing through a thin piece of paper, easily piercing through. Layer after layer was pierced through without any pressure at all. In fact, the black flames on the surface burned wildly, burning the thick defensive barrier into ashes. The spiritual power of the defensive shield was like an accelerant. Not only did it not weaken the black flames, but it also became more vigorous. How could this be? Heavenly Netherworld Holy King's face changed. He thought that he could resist it for a while, but who knew that he could not resist it at all? In the next moment, he could only choose to dodge to the side, but his speed was still a bit slower. The Nether Heaven Divine Sword pierced through his arm, and he subconsciously used his palm to block it. The divine artifact armor on his body also released a surging energy to resist this overbearing power. Unexpectedly, the sword still pierced through his palm, and the terrible black flames instantly burned his whole body, unable to stop. As for the Nether Heaven Divine Sword, after piercing through his palm, it penetrated the wall behind him and finally disappeared completely into the wall. Not even a shadow could be seen. The power of this throw was enough to pierce through the sky, and the overbearing black flames could even corrode everything. This flame, suppress it for me. Heavenly Netherworld Holy King snorted, and the surging heavenly fire quickly suppressed it. Although it was finally suppressed, his whole arm looked like it had been burnt to a crisp, which was enough to show how terrible the black flames were. As he dodged, the absorption of the soul was immediately cut off, and he could not continue to absorb the soul. The soul of the evil spirit cannot come out of the seal without external force, and can only roar at the bottom of the abyss. Rush over. The three old ancestors immediately rushed to the seal, wanting to reseal the evil spirit race. But at this time Yun came to the side, stood at the crack, and said indifferently, "Leave it to me." Immediately, he stretched out his hand and threw a terrible black flame, which continuously burned the evil spirit race, and immediately screams sounded. There is no doubt that the evil spirit race, which has been suppressed for a long time, began to quickly burn and disappear. What a terrible black flame! What kind of power is this? The three old ancestors were shocked, and the shock they felt today was more than the shock they felt in their entire life. Such a heaven-defying powerhouse, is he really a human? And not a descendant of a divine king? Divine messenger, he is too strong. How did he cultivate? Bai Shui Huang was also shocked to the point that she did not know what to say. Patriarch. Elder Feng came down at this time, his face was full of horror, and Bai Shui Huang already knew some information. Many experts of the heavenly netherworld divine kingdom have indeed been killed. The answer that followed was within their expectations. Tianyun did not lie. He did not lie from the beginning, it was just that they did not believe it. The sword attack just now made them believe that everything was true, and Tianyun really killed all the experts of the heavenly netherworld divine kingdom. Damn it! The heavenly netherworld holy king's arm quickly recovered, and the flesh grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. Compared to the heaven primordial retired emperor's recovery speed, it was even a little faster. This terrifying healing ability is really amazing. It's a pity that your plan was ruined by me, but it seems that you have absorbed a lot of souls. Tianyun looked at the heavenly netherworld holy king coldly. Although his soul was cut off, the heavenly netherworld holy king had absorbed too many souls, at least more than half of them, otherwise, it would be impossible for his cultivation to improve so quickly. I have to say, you are the most powerful human I have ever seen. No, it should be said that you are the most powerful existence in the current human race. I did not expect the Phoenix race to have such a strong support, it is really beyond my expectations. The heavenly netherworld holy king's face was gloomy. He also heard what Elder Feng said. The other experts of the heavenly netherworld divine kingdom were killed. Chapter 649. The heavenly netherworld divine kingdom's biggest reliance was the three holy king powerhouses. Now that two holy kings and many elites of the heavenly netherworld divine kingdom were dead, what chance did they have? Under such circumstances, what chance did they have of winning? It should be said that if they were individually strong, they still had a great chance of winning, but now that so many of their people had died, the Phoenix race could escape at will. At most, he could only capture the Phoenix nest, but he couldn't capture them one by one. The heavenly netherworld divine kingdom attacked this place. In addition to the resources here, they also wanted to capture the Phoenix race. After all, this was the real point. The precious Phoenix blood essence was a guarantee to enhance one's strength. Now, how could he capture them all by himself? He could only capture them one by one, unlike before when he could capture them all. Do you think you still have a chance of winning? Tianyun looked at him indifferently. The black flame in his hand was constantly burning the evil spirit, trying to completely burn it to ashes. Affected by this, the heavenly netherworld holy king's face was slightly pale. The two were connected. The evil spirit was burning here, and the other side also felt intense pain. However, the heavenly netherworld holy king didn't immediately counterattack. The three old ancestors and Tianyun were standing here. How could he attack? It's undeniable that you are strong, but do you really think you have a chance of winning? The heavenly netherworld holy king sneered. I will give you a chance since you are not from the Phoenix race. As long as you join my heavenly netherworld divine kingdom, I will not pursue this matter, and I will even give you a higher position. Don't think that you are strong now, there are many things that you don't know. Even if you have the power of a holy king, this is just the beginning. The heavenly netherworld holy king was trying to win over Tianyun again. Not pursue this matter? I killed most of your men, including 2 holy kings, and you won't pursue this matter? Lee Tianyun said playfully. He wasn't in a hurry to fight at all. Anyway, he was burning the evil spirit bit by bit, and if he continued like this, he would be completely burned to death. Originally, he planned to work together with Bai Shui Huang to kill the evil spirit, but now, he didn't need to do so. He was now much stronger than before, and he didn't need Bai Shui Huang's help. He could burn the evil spirit by himself. With the super-enhanced immortal flame, coupled with his powerful strength, he could easily kill the evil spirit. Now that more than half of the malevolent spirit had been absorbed, the remaining portion would be even easier to kill. Although it was only a small portion, it was at least enough to severely injure Holy King Tianming. Although it was only a small part, but it was enough to kill the heavenly Holy King. The heavenly netherworld Holy King clenched his fists and said sternly, "I need true experts, not weaklings." As he said these words, the aura of a powerhouse spread out in all directions, causing Bai Shui Huang and the others to feel the pressure on them increasing. This power was simply too strong. It was much stronger than theirs, so the pressure was naturally greater. Holy Spirit Yang. Were much stronger than them were holy. Holy King Soul. Holy land where Heave Saint was holy. He Heave holy. Was holy saint. He had holy. He holy. Holy saint. God King On. God. Holy saint. If they didn't use their positions to tempt them, they would use various martial arts or treasures to tempt them. This was nothing new to him, but they thought it was useful to him. If it was someone else, it might be of some use, but it was meaningless to him. Even if he lacked these things, he was a man of principle and would never go with the flow. Fence-sitters often died the most miserably. Moreover, the Phoenix clan had never mistreated him, so why would he choose to betray them? No, as long as you stop this step, I won't pursue this matter. Holy King Heavenly Netherworld said solemnly, I see that your talent is not bad, that's why I chose to do this. As long as you follow me, I will guarantee that you will become a God King in the future. The difficulty of becoming a God King in this world is simply too high. You will never be able to imagine how difficult it is. As long as you follow me, breaking through to the God King realm won't be a problem. It's not difficult to surpass the heaven-creating Divine King and the others. This time, the temptation was even more astonishing. Becoming a God King. Even the old ancestor of the Phoenix clan didn't dare to say such a thing. Who could guarantee that they would become a God King? But now, Holy King Heavenly Netherworld could guarantee that he would become a God King. In fact, he could see that as long as he absorbed all the souls, even if he didn't break through to the God King realm, he would be almost there. All that was left was a little more time to break through to the God King realm. Therefore, he didn't feel that he was lying when he said such a thing. If his cultivation was only at the Spirit King stage, or even lower, it wouldn't be credible. Everyone looked at Yi Tianyun. In the face of such a huge temptation, what would Yi Tianyun choose? Would he choose to follow Holy King Heavenly Netherworld or stand on the same side as them? In fact, they all felt a bit tempted. Becoming a God King was a title of absolute powerhouse. Who wouldn't want to become a God King? The three old ancestors clenched the divine tools in their hands. If Yi Tianyun agreed, it would mean that they would have one more enemy, and it would be an extremely powerful enemy. His palms are now oozing a little sweat, feeling so terrible, afraid that Yi Tianyun will choose the opposite side. This meant that the Phoenix clan would be annihilated. Just Holy King Heavenly Netherworld alone would be difficult to deal with, let alone Yi Tianyun. However, they didn't intervene. All the choice was up to Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun didn't owe them anything. He was just a divine envoy. He didn't belong to the Phoenix clan. Therefore, no matter what choice they made, they wouldn't be ungrateful. They didn't give Yi Tianyun anything. This is really a big temptation. Yi Tianyun smiled indifferently. The black flame in his hand suddenly increased, and he slammed it on the ground. The black flame crazily devoured the remaining evil spirits. Accompanied by a scream, the evil spirit was completely turned into ashes. You actually gave up the opportunity to become a God King. Holy King Heavenly Netherworld's face was pale, and blue veins were bulging on his forehead. You will die, and you will die miserably. He didn't expect that Tianyun would still choose to give up the temptation. Give up the opportunity to become a god king? Tianyun shook his head and said indifferently, You are too full of yourself. Even if I don't need you, I can still become a god king. That's all. Chapter 650. The perfect answer and the domineering action explained Tianyun's choice. The last bit of heavenly netherworld Holy King's soul was completely burned to ashes. Originally, it could have lasted for a while, but under the increased firepower, it was easily burned to ashes. This meant that his strength could still be improved further and would not stop at the current level. Bai Shui Huang and the others were overjoyed. It seems that in the end, Tianyun still chose to stand on their side and did not choose to leave with heavenly netherworld Holy King. It seems that in the end, he did not compromise under the temptation of becoming a divine king. If it were them, they would not have said such words. However, Tianyun's response was even more domineering. Without heavenly netherworld Holy King, he can still become a divine king. If it was someone else, they would not dare to say such words, but he was so confident. For him, if he did not even have such confidence, how could he be worthy of becoming a divine king? Very good, very good. Heavenly netherworld Holy King sneered. Do you think you can kill me just because you destroyed my clone? You are too naive. I will make you regret this choice. His eyes were filled with anger. Although the damage was not big, who would be willing to lose something that could have been more perfect? Due to his great anger, his power crazily increased. Especially the heavenly fire within his body. It seemed as if it had gone crazy. It wreaked havoc in all directions, and everything was frozen wherever it went. The terrifying heavenly fire was cold to the extreme, it could freeze everything. At the same time, his body began to grow larger. Arms grew out from other parts of his body. His chest, shoulders, and back. Each arm was as thick as a human's waist. He was simply the arm of a giant. Not good, he is going to transform. The bloodline power of the evil spirit race. The three old ancestors' faces changed. They had seen the power of the evil spirit race a long time ago. Even if they had not seen it in person, they had seen it in paintings. Immediately, they attacked frantically, trying to stop heavenly netherworld Holy King's transformation. Once he transforms, that would be his true power. How could they resist at that time? How can a grain of rice compete? Heavenly netherworld Holy King stretched out his hand and crushed the attacks of the three old ancestors. Even the attacks were frozen by the heavenly fire, then fell to the ground and turned into a pile of ice. After completely releasing his power and focusing on attacking, he was much stronger than before when he was only defending. The two of them could be said to be on a completely different level. He had just crushed the attacks of the three people when a black light pierced through the surrounding heavenly fire at an astonishing speed. It was completely suppressed by the black light, and it quickly arrived in front of his chest. Everything happened too fast, so fast that the heavenly netherworld Holy King barely reacted and reached out to grab it. Clang. This sound was like the collision of metal. But there was no metal on the heavenly netherworld Holy King's palm, and yet there was such a harsh sound. Boom. Following that, a wave of air rolled out from his hand, accompanied by a terrifying black flame. It rolled out in all directions, including towards Tianming Holy King. Under this terrifying penetrative force, Holy Monarch Heavenly Netherworld was sent flying for a distance. He only managed to stop after taking dozens of steps back. At this time, there were dozens of deep footprints in front of him, enough to prove how overbearing this attack was. That's a sacred tool. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They did not expect Tianyun to be so generous. Previously, he threw a divine tool, and now he threw a sacred tool. Although the grade was much lower, it was still a high-rank sacred tool. It was undeniable that the effect of this move was very obvious. The power was quite extraordinary, and it was much stronger than a simple attack. There were also shortcomings. It would be fine if the opponent was killed, but if the opponent was not killed, It was equivalent to giving the opponent a weapon. Drip, a drop of blood flowed down his palm and fell to the ground. It did not spread on the ground, but burned a deep hole in the ground. Such an overbearing force only injured his palm, not even pierced through it. Previously, it could still pierce through his palm, but now it could not even pierce through it? Could it be that if the weapon was a sacred tool, the effect would be so much worse? The main point was that the attack was blocked by the giant hand that grew out of his chest. The surface of the giant hand that grew out of his chest was glowing with a faint golden luster, which looked very dazzling. Not only the palm on his chest, but even the other palms were glowing with a golden luster, as if they were plated with a layer of gold. His whole body had turned into a golden evil spirit. In addition to the normal 2 arms, 4 extra arms had grown, adding up to a total of 6 arms. He had 2 more arms than Ji Yang. Not only did he have 2 more arms, but his strength had also increased several times, reaching a frightening combat power. Holy Monarch Heavenly Netherworld, peak of the Saint King stage, infinitely close to the strength of a God King. His whole body was glowing with a golden luster, and he had an indestructible golden body that could resist all attacks. His defense was very heaven-defying, comparable to the hardness of a low-rank divine tool. His explosive power was even more amazing. He did not need any weapons. Just his fists were comparable to the strength of a low-rank divine tool. His comprehensive combat power was as high as 22 billion. 22 billion battle power, which was several billion more than before. The difference between transforming and not transforming was really frighteningly big. Was this the power of the bloodline eruption? The Phoenix race could also erupt with amazing power, which was not inferior to the Holy Monarch eruption, but the cultivation of the 3 old ancestors was too weak. Even if they erupted, they still could not match the power of the Holy Monarch Heavenly Netherworld. No wonder it took 2 peak Holy Kings to suppress the Holy Monarch Heavenly Netherworld. In the end, some of his soul had slipped away, which was enough to prove that the strength of the Holy Monarch Heavenly Netherworld was slightly better than that of the Phoenix race. In the case of being suppressed, a lot of his soul had still slipped away, which was enough to prove that the strength of the Holy Monarch Heavenly Netherworld was slightly better than that of the Phoenix race. Although he was very strong, he was still injured by Yi Tianyun's attack, which meant that he was not absolutely invincible. The previous attack of Yi Tianyun had a combat power of 19 billion, which was a little lower than that of the Holy Monarch Heavenly Netherworld, but it did not mean that it could not hurt the Holy Monarch Heavenly Netherworld. But that was all. It only hurt the skin of the Holy Monarch Heavenly Netherworld. This wasn't his limit, but it was close to his limit. It was just a little bit away from exploding out. Even if he erupted, he would not be able to catch up with the Holy Monarch Heavenly Netherworld's combat power. The gap was really too big. If he continued to absorb a little more soul, Yi Tianyun felt that his combat power would not be at this level, but at least a level higher. He had to admit that it was too terrifying. It was the first time he had seen an opponent who could erupt with so much power. He had always thought that his crazy mode was heaven-defying enough, and in fact, it was indeed heaven-defying, but it did not mean that others would be inferior. Chapter 651. It's just a small injury, his defense is really amazing. Yi Tianyun was not surprised. He had used his appraisal eye to see the data, but he still had to use it to see what was going on. After he attacked, he immediately tested the Heavenly Netherworld Saint King's defense. It was really overbearing. Everyone's expression changed. Yi Tianyun's overbearing attack had only scratched the surface of the Heavenly Netherworld Saint King's skin. This made them feel despair. Even if Yi Tianyun did not join the Heavenly Netherworld Saint King's camp, the Heavenly Netherworld Saint King still had the power to crush them. It was no wonder that the Heavenly Netherworld Saint King had decided to attack. With such power, how could they not crush the Phoenix race? The Phoenix race's many years of foundation was not enough to defeat the evil spirit race. This made them feel very sad. They were sad that they were being suppressed. If they lost this battle, the Phoenix race would become slaves and be ordered around. What was more terrifying was that they would be kept in captivity. Every once in a while, the heavenly netherworld Saint King's blood essence would be extracted for them to absorb. The evil spirit race had chosen to suppress the Phoenix race because the Phoenix race's blood essence would be of great help to them. Otherwise, they would not have come to suppress the Phoenix clan for no reason. They would also choose to capture as many as they could. They weren't interested in the ordinary human bloodline at all, but they felt that it was good to work for them. Your strength is not bad, but you are still too weak. The heavenly netherworld Saint King sneered and waved his hand that was holding the short sword. A sharp light pierced through the air towards Tianyun. Whether it was the strength or the speed, it was much stronger than Tianyun's previous attack. In the blink of an eye, the light pierced through the air and arrived in front of Tianyun. Tianyun narrowed his eyes and reached out to grab the short sword. Ding! A deafening sound rang out. Tianyun was pushed back by the terrifying force. He was forced to take a few steps back before he managed to stop himself. However, his hand was not injured at all. His terrifying defense had suppressed the attack. The evil spirits set and the ancient desolation set gave him astonishing defense. It was enough to withstand this terrifying attack. Sometimes, being weak did not mean that one would lose. However, if one's combat strength was too weak, it meant that one's strength was definitely inferior to the opponent's, but it did not mean that one's defense would be weaker than the opponent's. Combat power included the value of defense, but the value of the increase was too low, so it was hard to see what kind of power it was. What a powerful force. Tianyun felt the web between his thumb and index finger go numb. His defense had nearly been pierced through. If not for his defense being slightly stronger, his body would have been pierced through. However, he had a few ways to prevent himself from being pierced through. He just wanted to feel how strong the other party was. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Such a tyrannical attack was actually blocked? This immediately gave them a little more hope. Oh, looks like your skin is quite tough. I'd like to see how many of my attacks you can take. Boom. The heavenly netherworld Saint King stomped on the ground, and the ground that was originally covered with divine inscriptions immediately crumbled and turned into a pile of dust. Soon after, he turned into a beam of golden light and pierced through the pitch-black room. He was like a sun that illuminated the room. He didn't use any weapons. He simply used his weapons to fight. His fist was comparable to a low-grade divine tool, so why would he need a divine tool to attack? Good. Tianyun's eyes turned cold. The dragon god bloodline in his body crazily surged and a faint layer of red appeared on the surface of his pitch-black body. Dragon god bloodline, activate. Royal Phoenix bloodline, activate. Under the dual activation, his combat power crazily soared. Fine dragon scales appeared on the surface of his pitch-black body. Even the pitch-black wings on his back began to turn into a pair of phoenix wings. The combination of the two formed a heaven-defying combination. 17, 5 billion. 18, 5 billion. 18, 5 billion. 19, 5 billion. 19, 5 billion. 20, 5 billion. 20, 5 billion. Finally, his battle power stopped at 20, 5 billion. Under the dual bloodline power, his battle power had increased by 3, 5 billion. This was already quite heaven-defying. If not for his high grade, he wouldn't have been able to achieve such an amazing effect. At the same time, he activated his last trump card, and with a loud bang, he turned into a huge black meteorite to meet the attack. Boom! Boom! The black light and the golden light crazily collided with each other. It was like a black meteorite colliding with the sun, immediately triggering a terrifying force. The force that was enough to annihilate everything quickly shrouded the surroundings. The divine runes on the ground, including the stone statues on the side, were all shattered. The solid Phoenix Cave was about to collapse. Bai Shui Huang and the rest quickly left this place. They couldn't stay here any longer. Otherwise, the force here would be enough to affect them. The three old ancestors could withstand the force for a while, but for Bai Shui Huang and the rest, even if they didn't die, they would be crippled. It's too scary. The divine messenger's power is too strong. They saw each other's horrified eyes, but more than that, they hoped that Tianyun would win. If the heavenly netherworld Holy King won, they would definitely be finished. Even if their people escaped, they would not dare to come out in the future. Once they came out, they would be caught by the heavenly netherworld holy king and then face the consequences of being sucked dry. I don't know who will win, but I hope that the divine messenger will win, they prayed in their hearts, but not long after, with a loud bang, a black light was smashed out of the phoenix cave. After it stopped in the air, everyone saw that it was Yi Tianyun who was sent flying. Yi Tianyun's chest was dented a few times, and there was no doubt that it was the result of being hit by a fist. Then, the heavenly netherworld holy king flew out of the ground. Compared to Yi Tianyun, the heavenly netherworld holy king's condition was much better. Not only that, but his combat power had also increased from 22 billion to 23 billion. It seemed that the more he fought, the stronger he became. The more he persevered, the more terrifying his power was. Your power is not bad, but it is still too weak compared to me. How dare you compete with a mere human race's trash bloodline? The heavenly netherworld holy king looked down at him with disdain. The bloodline's power is enough to suppress you from the beginning. Not only that, but the power of my martial arts is also higher than yours. The heavenly netherworld holy king was not lying. Whether it was the grade of his martial arts or the gap in power, he was stronger than Yi Tianyun. The heavenly netherworld holy king's martial arts were as high-grade heaven-level martial arts, and they were constantly being improved. Yi Tianyun had a lot of martial arts, but there were only a few that were useful to him. The heaven-creating divine king's martial arts were powerful, but it could not make up for the gap between the two of them. Human race's trash bloodline? Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. It is undeniable that our human race's bloodline is very ordinary, but we have an incomparably firm Tao heart. So, the whole world belongs to us humans, and we have unlimited possibilities. In his opinion, there was nothing more important than having a firm Tao heart. If one did not even have a firm Tao heart, how could one cultivate? Even if one had amazing talent, without a firm Tao heart, one would not be able to break through to a higher realm. This was not nonsense. Chapter 652. Who doesn't know how to talk? Heavenly netherworld holy king's eyes were still full of disdain. Now you are the best proof, your strength is not bad, but you are still suppressed by me. If you cultivated a little longer, you might have a chance to win, but unfortunately, now you are dead. The evil spirit race's bloodlines surged in his body, and his whole body was covered in golden light, making him look like a righteous person. But who knows that his heart is extremely dirty, a monster who kills people like cutting grass. If he can't achieve his goal, he will not let go of innocent people or newborn babies. No, you are dead. Yi Tianyun's eyes are flashing, but he is not in a hurry to attack. Instead, he is selling things like crazy, the repeated martial arts in the inventory, as well as some lower-grade weapons, all are sold. He spent too much crazy point to buy experience card before, which caused a lot of crazy point to be depleted. He doesn't have enough crazy point to buy 50 million crazy point. Fortunately, he earned a lot before, so he can make up for the difference of a few million crazy points. I'm dead? You're really full of yourself. It's time to end this. Don't waste my time. Heavenly netherworld holy king said solemnly. But I won't kill you so quickly, I will let you know what it feels like to die. Yi Tianyun destroyed his soul, he will definitely not let him go easily, he will definitely torture him before killing him. Otherwise, how can he calm the anger in his heart? Seeing their state, everyone was worried, thinking that the odds of winning this time are not big. The three of us can't just wait, we are ready to go all out and burn our lives. The three old ancestors didn't plan to just watch from the side, let an outsider help them. How can they, as the old ancestors of the Phoenix race, save their face? The main reason is that Yi Tianyun is under too much pressure, he feels difficult to deal with. They can only choose to sacrifice themselves to cooperate with Yi Tianyun to suppress heavenly netherworld holy king. This is the worst way, but also the best way now. Heavenly netherworld holy king, don't underestimate our Phoenix race. The three old ancestors roared, and a burst of phoenix cry came from their body. Their blood essence burned crazily, and instantly, their whole body was covered with feathers. This is an obvious sign of atavism. At the same time, the terrifying nirvana flame wrapped around his body. His battle power rose crazily and became stronger and stronger. "Old ancestor!" Bai Shui Huang and the others shouted anxiously, but in the end, they could only swallow the words they wanted to say. This was the only thing they could do for now. If they didn't fight, only death awaited them. However, even if they were to die, they would at least defend the dignity of the Phoenix race instead of cowardly hiding at the side. This was not the style of the Phoenix race. If it was your old ancestor who came back to life, he might be able to cause some damage to me. Now, you 3 pieces of trash want to deal with me? Holy Master Heavenly Netherworld mocked. If that's the case, then I'll kill the 3 of you first so that your Phoenix race's resistance will be futile. Don't do anything. Let me deal with him. Yi Tianyun signaled for them to stay put. He could feel that the 3 ancestors were ready to risk their lives. Once they did, it would be hard to stop. But the 3 ancestors were stunned. They felt that Yi Tianyun would not be able to defeat the Heavenly Netherworld Holy King. Don't worry, it's not a problem to deal with him. Yi Tianyun said confidently. Oh, still trying to be a hero? It seems that you still don't know how big the gap between us is. Heavenly Netherworld Holy King shifted his gaze to Yi Tianyun and said indifferently, since you want to be a hero, then I'll fulfill your wish. I'll let you know that if you want to be a hero, you'll be a fool if you don't have the strength. Heavenly Netherworld Holy King took a step forward and rushed towards Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun's eyes are like a starry sky, full of stars, full of hope. Upgrade Crazy Mode. Successfully deducted 50 million crazy points. Successfully upgraded Crazy Mode, Level 5. Successfully upgraded Crazy Mode, the next level requires 500 million crazy points. Crazy Mode, successfully increased damage by 32 times, Kill EXP increased by 32 times, Alchemy Mode increased by 32 times, Crazy Point gained by 5 times, Sin value increased by 5 times, and so on. Yi Tianyun's damage was increased by 32 times. It was a shocking number. The original 16 times damage was already shocking enough, but now it doubled again, reaching an incredible 32 times damage. Help him! The 3 old ancestors didn't listen to Yi Tianyun's words and chose to retreat. After all, they could see the gap between the 2 of them. If they really let Yi Tianyun continue like this, the end result will definitely be Yi Tianyun's death. They didn't want Yi Tianyun to die. They even saw Yi Tianyun for the first time. But they didn't want Yi Tianyun to die. The reason is simple. Yi Tianyun has sacrificed too much for their Phoenix clan. If Yi Tianyun can escape, he will definitely become a stronger cultivator in the future. Even if he can't avenge them, at least he will be able to suppress Heavenly Netherworld Holy King. You are the stupid one. Crazy Damage Mode, activate. With a low roar, an explosive power surged out of his body, and in an instant, the place where he stood was annihilated inch by inch, turning into endless powder. As if the earth was trembling because of him, a terrifying power surged along the earth in all directions. Just at this place, the world shook because of him. 20 billion, 22 billion, 25 billion, 30 billion, 32 billion, 33 billion, 35 billion, 39, 8 billion. Finally, it stopped at 39. 8 billion battle power, which is 20 billion more than before. Under the terrifying battle power, his eyes emitted a bright light, and even the surface of his body emitted a faint black luster, which looked like a bright spot. But inside, there was a tremendous change. A terrifying power was compressed in this body, and when it really breaks out, it will destroy the world. Evil spirits, descend. The black flame wings on Yi Tianyun's back instantly turned into a black light, shrouding the surroundings. Everywhere it went was burned to ashes inch by inch, and a big hole was burned through the space. When Heavenly Netherworld Holy King rushed over, he realized that something was wrong, but it was too late. This seemingly ordinary black light has already enveloped his body. As soon as it touched his giant golden hand, it was immediately burned into charcoal and then gasified, turning into a wisp of golden smoke, but only for a moment. It continued to be enveloped by the black light. Chapter 653. Under the shroud of the black light, Lee Tianyun couldn't even scream before he was engulfed by the black light. It was difficult to hurt Lee Tianyun before, but now he was easily burned to ashes. This was the effect of the damage increase. No matter how hard the body is, under the overbearing power, it will still turn into ashes. After the black light disappeared, there was an incomparably deep pit in a radius of 1 kilometer. From above, it looked unfathomably deep, and there was a scorching aura coming from the bottom. Just by approaching it, one could feel that they would be burnt to death. This was the effect of Lee Tianyun deliberately reducing the range. If he expanded the range, let alone 1 mile, even 10 miles would be destroyed. At that time, half of the phoenix nest would be destroyed. What is this power? How can it increase so much? They were shocked. The 3 old ancestors originally wanted to use their power, but now they were suppressed. They could clearly feel their power. Compared to the power Lee Tianyun just used, it was simply insignificant. They couldn't judge at this time. They thought that Lee Tianyun had reached his limit, but now it seems that they thought too much. Lee Tianyun didn't reach his limit at all. His power can be even more powerful, as if he deliberately hid it before. In fact, Lee Tianyun didn't do that. He just wanted to try to suppress the heavenly netherworld Holy King, but in the end, he found that he couldn't suppress the heavenly netherworld Holy King, so he could only choose to exchange for crazy points. After accumulating enough crazy points, he immediately upgraded crazy mode to increase his power. It's just that the crazy points are basically gone now, but as long as he can kill the heavenly netherworld Holy King, everything else is not a problem. Not dead yet? Lee Tianyun looked down at the bottom. If the heavenly netherworld Holy King died, then the experience message would definitely pop up, but it didn't pop up. It means that the heavenly netherworld Holy King is not dead yet. Immediately, he used the appraisal eye to quickly explore the situation below, and soon found the body of the heavenly netherworld Holy King at the edge of the pit and began to escape. If it was someone else, I guess they would really let you escape, Lee Tianyun sneered. His figure flashed and rushed to the deep pit. The 3 old ancestors looked down. They wanted to see the situation of the heavenly netherworld Holy King. After a while, Lee Tianyun flew up from the bottom, holding a black charcoal in his hand. If you look closely, it is not charcoal at all, but a group of soul. But this group of soul is a bit like a physical body. It can move at will and release power. This was related to the evil spirit race. They mainly cultivated their souls, and their souls were so strong that they could leave their bodies at any time and form a physical body to attack their enemies. Even if the body is damaged, as long as the soul is not damaged, it can fly out to attack. The price to pay was not small. The greater the consumption, the smaller the soul would become. In the end, if the soul was gone, it would be equivalent to death. The cost is the heavenly Tianyun, the heaven's holy netherworld is the highest. The holy realm, the soul, the Saint Holy. Let me go, let me go. The heavenly netherworld Holy King's voice is full of fear. Who would have thought that Lee Tianyun can still burst out with such terrifying power? In an instant he was destroyed. He thought that his body is indestructible, but it is as fragile as tofu, easily crushed. There is a difference of 10 billion battle power between the two. It is difficult not to be easily destroyed. The 2 of them are no longer on the same level. He feels that even if the Divine King comes, he will have the power to fight. Let you go? Do you think I will let you go? Lee Tianyun said indifferently. If it is someone else, you really will escape. There is no aura at all. They will think you are dead. Back then, you can run away with half of your soul. Is this ability? After the 3 old ancestors saw this, the big stone hanging on their chests finally fell. It means that the heavenly netherworld Holy King is dead for sure. Now there is only a small group of soul left. As long as this group of soul is destroyed, the heavenly netherworld Holy Kingdom is officially destroyed. Without the 3 great Holy Kings, the remaining force is equivalent to the level of a 2nd or 3rd rank force. In the eyes of the old ancestors, it is easy to destroy. As long as you let me go, I am willing to give you anything, any way to escape I am willing to give you. In the face of death, the heavenly netherworld Holy King began to beg for mercy. Where is the dignity of the heavenly netherworld Holy King? You are willing to give me anything? Lee Yun said indifferently. Yes, any martial arts, any treasure, I will give you everything, heavenly netherworld holy kingdom will give you. As long as you let me go, I will give you everything. The heavenly netherworld holy king begged for mercy. The old ancestors all looked at this side, not interjecting. The decision is now in the hands of Lee Yun, whether to choose to kill or choose to stay to get the treasure. This is all up to Lee Yun. Become a slave? Lee Yun said indifferently. Slave? I am willing to be your slave. The heavenly netherworld holy king's soul trembled, but in the end he chose to agree. Is that so? It seems that you are willing to put down your pride. In my opinion, you have other plans, right? Even if you become my slave, unless I keep you by my side, I will only get myself killed one day. Lee Yun sneered. As for the treasure, in my opinion, it is all trash. What I want the most right now is very simple, and that is your life. As soon as he said this, the black flame burned madly, inch by inch burning the heavenly netherworld holy king to death. Screams constantly came from the heavenly netherworld holy king's soul. But no matter how much he screamed, it was meaningless. Pa, you will die soon, very soon. No, you will die very soon, ha. The heavenly netherworld holy king laughed. At this moment, as if he was not afraid at all, only a voice full of hatred came. As the heavenly netherworld holy king, there was no way he would fear anything. The reason why he chose to compromise, who knows what he was thinking. Even if he becomes a slave, he can't force everything out of him. Maybe he is prepared in advance, so that Lee Yun won't be able to get anything out of him. Don't worry, you won't be able to see this scene. No matter how many companions you have, I will kill them all. Lee Yun said coldly. You are too naive, ignorant human, ignorant weakling. The heavenly netherworld holy king laughed, didn't say too much, and then completely disappeared in the flame. Ding. Successfully killed the heavenly netherworld holy king. Reward 21. 5 billion EXP, 150,000 crazy points, 100,000 SBS. Obtained heavenly divine art, evil spirit divine art, evil spirit possession, evil spirit incarnation. Obtained evil spirit soul, evil spirit bone, evil spirit bloodline, evil spirit ancient jade, super rare. Ding. Reward, 500 million EXP, 100,000 crazy points, 100,000 SBS, 1 super enhanced lottery roulette. Chapter 654. After killing the heavenly netherworld holy king, he successfully broke through to the Saint King stage. After such a battle, he can easily break through to the Saint King stage. From the previous 4th layer of Spirit King stage, he rushed to the 1st layer of Saint King stage in one go. This process only took 1 day, and he broke through so many levels in a row. If people knew about this, they would be scared to death. Others spent more than 10 years, decades, or even hundreds of years to break through to the Saint King stage. Lee Yun only spent 1 day to successfully break through to the Saint King stage. It's so fast that even he himself didn't expect it. This was also the credit of the experience card. Even when he was able to break through to the Saint King stage, he had also bought an 80 and 50 times experience card. These 2 cards were expensive, but he still had to sell a lot of things to buy them. Peak Saint King stage masters were not common, so even if they sold their pots and pans, they would buy them to upgrade their foundation. Only by upgrading their foundation would their comprehensive strength be strong. Otherwise, it would be useless to say anything. It would be meaningless. But for him, it will take a long time to break through to the Divine King stage. Not to mention breaking through to the Divine King stage, at least he needs to be at the peak Saint King stage. He doesn't know how strong Divine King stage is, but he believes that it is absolutely terrifying. Breaking through from the Spirit King stage to the Saint King stage is a huge improvement in combat power. To break through from the 1st layer of Saint King stage to the 2nd layer of Saint King stage, I need 30 billion EXP. Can I have more? After Lee Yun checked the EXP required to break through, he was immediately speechless. It seems that without EXP cards, it's really difficult to upgrade. If he continues to buy EXP, he will really go bankrupt. Now that he is bankrupt, he doesn't have any crazy point. Hundreds of thousands of crazy point is nothing for him now, it's not useful at all. In the past, he was happy to get hundreds of thousands of crazy point, but now he feels that it's too little. Without a few million crazy points, it's really useless. Heavenly Netherworld Holy King is now dead. You can go and take over the Heavenly Netherworld Divine Nation. As for what you do with the descendants of the evil spirit race, that's your business. After Yi Tianyun landed, he returned to his original state and took a deep breath. The consumption was quite shocking. You were the one who killed the Heavenly Netherworld Holy King's people, so you should be the one to receive all the properties of the Heavenly Netherworld Divine Kingdom. Bai Shuihuang said. They would not covet any of Yi Tianyun's belongings, nor would they dare to covet any of his treasures. Indeed, Yi Tianyun had contributed the most. It should be said that he had contributed the most. As for the rest of them, they had not suppressed the Nether Heaven Divine Kingdom, so they could not be considered to have contributed. Therefore, they did not dare to take any of the treasures for themselves. It should belong to Yi Tianyun. As the divine envoy of your Phoenix clan, I'm considered to be part of your Phoenix clan. Therefore, the Nether Heaven Divine Nation will be taken over by you. If there are any treasures that you think are good and you feel apologetic, you can give them to me. I believe that the most important thing for you is to eradicate the descendants of the evil spirit race, right? Yi Tianyun smiled indifferently. He wasn't interested in ordinary treasures, especially if he was alone. How could he take care of all of them? He must ask for their help. That's right. No matter what, the Divine Envoy has saved our entire Phoenix clan. What belongs to you is yours. The Heavenly Netherworld Divine Nation must be eradicated. Bai Shuihuang said coldly. Even if they did not need any compensation, they would still eradicate the Nether Heaven Divine Nation. As long as the descendants of the evil spirit race existed, they might be attacked again. Vengeance had to be taken, and he would not be lenient. You can deal with this yourself. I'll find a place to rest first. If there's anything else, you can talk to me. Yi Tianyun said. Divine Envoy, if you don't mind, you can go to our Phoenix Lake to rest. It's the best place for you to recover. Old ancestor Feng Tian suggested. Phoenix Lake? Isn't that a place that only the elders and above can enjoy? Of course, Yi Tianyun knew about this place, but only the elders and above could go there. He was a divine envoy, so he couldn't go there. Divine Envoy has saved our entire Phoenix clan. Not to mention Phoenix Lake, you can go anywhere you want. The three old ancestors didn't have the slightest intention to help Yi Tianyun. Why would they dare to provoke a Heavenly Netherworld Holy King who could crush their old ancestor? They would definitely worship him as a god. Since that's the case, I won't be polite. Yi Tianyun indeed felt a little tired. After a battle, he needed a good rest. Immediately, under the guidance of the three old ancestors, Yi Tianyun went to the Phoenix Lake and arranged a small wooden hut to rest. After entering the hut, Yi Tianyun felt that the environment here was indeed much denser. The most denser part was the spirit spring that was constantly flowing into the hut. The Phoenix Lake was actually a spirit spring, and the hut was filled with spirit spring water. Therefore, if one wanted to enter this place, they would not be able to do so unless they had a very high status or had a very high contribution. If anyone could enter this place, the Phoenix Lake would have been sucked dry. The spirit chi here is very dense. If I keep absorbing it, I will definitely be able to earn a lot of experience points. Yi Tianyun nodded, thinking that this place was really a treasure land. However, before resting, he still wanted to do a lucky draw. 2 lucky draw chances and a gift bag. How could he miss it? Let's start the lucky draw. Soon, he activated his lucky aura and started the lucky draw. Soon, the lucky draw will stop. Consumable. When he got the consumable this time, he did not look depressed. With the god's teleportation stone from before, he would definitely not be disappointed this time. Ding dong! A wooden box fell into his hand. Soon, he opened the wooden box, and a treasure appeared in front of him. It was a cooling god stone. Cooling god stone greatly reduces the cooldown time of skills. One use can reduce the cooldown time by 2 hours. Can be used 10 times. Good stuff. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He had to admit that this was really good stuff. He had not used the Cooling God Stone before because he was too reluctant to use it. Now that he had the Cooling God Stone, it meant that in the future he would be able to perform extreme bursts of power within a short period of time. Of course, it could also be used to perform extreme escape. Using teleportation to escape was indeed a very good treasure. As expected, the items obtained from activating his lucky aura would not be too bad. Again, this time I must hit the accessory slot. Just in time for me to complete the Ancient Desolate set. Soon, the lucky draw will started spinning again. Finally, the needle slowly stopped. The needle seemed to really hear Yi Tianyun's shout and pointed at the accessory slot. Chapter 655. Once again Yi Tianyun was excited. After all, there was only one desolate ancient set left. Once he collected all of them, the effect would be huge. Yi Tianyun's current cultivation was at Saint King stage, which was very strong for others, but for him, who was about to face a God King stage expert, Saint King stage cultivation was nothing. Ding! Another wooden box fell. The wooden box looked the same, even the color was exactly the same. If it wasn't for the pointer pointing at a different place, Yi Tianyun really didn't know what was inside. I wonder what it is? Yi Tianyun quickly opened the wooden box, and soon an item appeared in front of him, Desolate Ancient Ring. What the fuck? Yi Tianyun immediately screamed when he saw it clearly. He didn't expect it to be Desolate Ancient Ring and not Desolate Ancient Bracelet. Although he had 10 fingers, only one of them was useful, so it was meaningless to give him so many rings. I thought I could collect the whole set of Desolate Ancient Accessory, but it seems that I can't for the time being. Even if I want to spend crazy points to draw lottery, I don't have enough crazy points to do so. Yi Tianyun shook his head helplessly. He was poor now, without crazy points, he felt like he had no money, he couldn't upgrade a lot of things, he couldn't even take a step forward. Just drawing lottery cost more than 1 million crazy points, he didn't have enough. Forget it, I hope I can get Desolate Ancient Bracelet next time. Yi Tianyun didn't have a particularly strong need in this aspect, he didn't have a particularly strong opponent, he couldn't use the set even if he collected it. Immediately he turned his attention to the LV71 gift pack. He didn't know how many EXP cards he could get this time. If he wanted to level up, he would need to give more EXP cards to increase his level. Before, he could get 80 times EXP card. How many times EXP card could he get now? Unlocked LV71 gift pack. Ding! Successfully unlocked LV71 gift pack. Obtained 100 times EXP card, 20 times Crazy Point card, 20 times Sin Value card, 20 times Proficiency card, and unlocked Ring Equipment slot, 2. In addition to getting a lot of EXP cards, what surprised Yi Tianyun even more was the Ring Equipment slot. This made him very surprised. He thought that Desolate Ancient Ring was useless, but now it seems that it was very useful, he could still equip it. Although it wasn't a full set, the effects of the Primordial Series equipment were shocking. He couldn't wait to equip a few more of them. In that case, the number of rings can really continue to increase? Based on this situation, it was possible that he would continue to open the equipment slot, 3. Let him equip a few more rings. After all, he had 10 fingers, how could only 2 be effective? Ever since he started playing the game, he had wondered why only 2 of his 10 fingers had an effect. Couldn't there be 10 of them? After all, there were 10 fingers and 10 toes, right? As for the bracelet, at least he had 2 wrists. Even if he didn't wear it all the way to his elbow, he could at least wear one more, right? However, grumbling was just grumbling. He would have to wait until next time to find out whether or not he would be allowed to continue opening the equipment slot. All in all, it's not bad. The gift pack really didn't disappoint me. Yi Tianyun was very satisfied. He just didn't know how long this upgrade pack would last. When would he run out of this upgrade pack? He didn't care how long it would take. He just wanted to open it every time he could. It's about time. I can take a good rest. This battle is really tiring. Yi Tianyun temporarily calmed down. The matter of the heavenly netherworld divine kingdom was settled. The rest would be settled by the Phoenix clan. He just needed to sit and wait for the goods to arrive. Immediately, he sat on the spiritual liquid beside him and began to quickly absorb the spiritual liquid to nourish his body. After so many battles, even if he had replenished himself, the consumption was still very high. Time passed day by day. The news of the destruction of the heavenly netherworld divine kingdom spread quickly. It was impossible for the news to spread to the entire netherworld. The netherworld was too big. Only the surrounding divine kingdoms knew about the situation here. As for the forces that were very far away, they didn't know what forces were there. The netherworld was vast beyond imagination. However, the surrounding forces were already shocked speechless. The heavenly netherworld divine kingdom was very powerful. At least, it could enter the top 5 ranks. How could it be gone just like that? In the end, it was the Phoenix clan who came to take over. Many practitioners were deeply shocked. The Phoenix clan had always remained aloof from worldly affairs. Why would they come to eradicate the forces of the heavenly netherworld divine kingdom? However, many people were shocked when they found out that the heavenly netherworld divine kingdom wanted to take over the Phoenix clan. The Phoenix clan has not declined. They are still as powerful as ever. This was the new thought in everyone's mind. They had always thought that the Phoenix clan had chosen not to go out because they had become weak. Now, it seemed that they were not weak at all. They were still at the top and could suppress the other divine kingdoms. All of a sudden, many people's hearts cooled down. They didn't dare to capture the Phoenix clan. If they were caught one day, it would be a dead end for them. The storm outside had nothing to do with Yi Tianyun. He didn't have any forces here. Therefore, no matter how turbulent it was, it had nothing to do with him. It's about time. Yi Tianyun opened his eyes. A cold light shot out from his eyes. In these days, he had completely recovered all his strength. He had returned to his peak state. The spiritual liquid beneath him had been sucked until it became transparent. He got up, pushed open the door and walked out. The Phoenix Lake outside had also become a bit more transparent. Just him alone had sucked away most of the spiritual energy. He didn't need to be polite. He had saved the entire Phoenix clan, so he deserved to be rewarded. However, he didn't gain much experience from absorbing so much spiritual energy. The spiritual energy he absorbed was only a small part of it. Although it was only a small part, it made the Phoenix clan's hearts ache. Messenger, have you finished your cultivation? The 3 old ancestors were cultivating. After fighting for so long, they needed to rest here. Then, they clearly saw the lake in front of them become transparent. Without a doubt, Di Hyenyun's absorption was too crazy. It scared them. They could only accept it. Even if the Phoenix Lake was sucked dry, they could only accept it. The effect of the Phoenix Lake is not bad. I am very satisfied. Yi Tianyun smiled. I'm just a little embarrassed. I absorbed so much. You don't mind, right? Not at all, not at all. The 3 old ancestors' faces twitched. Normally, they wouldn't bear to absorb like this. Even if they did mind, they wouldn't dare to say it. Now that we have cleaned up the heavenly netherworld divine kingdom and collected all the treasures, would you like to go and take a look? Old ancestor Feng Tian said. All right, it's about time for me to leave this place. Yi Tianyun said with a nod. He came down here to eradicate the heavenly netherworld divine nation. After destroying the heavenly netherworld divine nation, he would be able to go to the heaven world. Chapter 656. What? You're leaving? When the 3 old ancestors knew that Yi Tianyun was leaving, they were very reluctant. How could they let such a powerful divine messenger go? Although the loss of Lake Phoenix pained them a little, compared to the contribution of saving the entire Phoenix clan, this was insignificant. Yes, I'm going to the heavenly world. Yi Tianyun didn't hide it. It wasn't a secret anyway, so there was no need to hide it. Heavenly world? They looked at each other and said, the passage from the underworld to the heavenly world is now broken. It's hard to go there unless you go through the mortal world. But Divine Messenger is so strong, how can you go through that passage? I'll take care of it myself. Lee Tianyun didn't tell them that he could use the Heaven Ascending Divine Altar. Even without the Heaven Ascending Divine Altar, he could still go to the heavenly world. He had the Guardian's strength now, so he wasn't restricted at all and could go to the heavenly world as he wished. He just wanted to save time, so he used the teleportation formation to go to the heavenly world. All right then, they looked at each other. Although it was a pity, they couldn't stop Lee Tianyun from going to the heavenly world. Now that the heavenly netherworld divine nation was taken care of, they didn't have any problems. Lee Tianyun followed them outside. Bai Shui Huang and the others had already taken the heavenly netherworld divine nation's things and divided them into several storage rings. Divine Messenger, these are the spoils of war we got from the heavenly netherworld divine nation, please take a look. Bai Shui Huang put the storage rings on the table. There were more than a dozen storage rings. She had to admit that the heavenly netherworld divine nation was rich. These were just the treasures. There were also some cultivation places that couldn't be brought back, so she could only give them treasures. Lee Tianyun took the storage rings and checked them. After a while, he took a few of them and said, "That's about it, you can have the rest." In the storage rings he left behind, there were pills and weapons. They weren't too high in grade, but they were mostly high-grade soul armaments. The pills he had were mostly 4th-grade soul armaments. He took some sacred artifacts and level 5 pills. Most of them were given to the Phoenix clan. It would have been best if he could have kept all of them alive, but he had always been a person of mutual benefit. The heavenly netherworld divine nation was wiped out so quickly because of the Phoenix race. If it were him, suppressing the cities one by one would take up a lot of time. For this reason, he would keep a portion of it and give most of it to the Phoenix clan. But just as Bai Shui Huang was about to say something, Yin shook his head and interrupted her. "There's no need to say more. I'm already very grateful that you helped me eliminate the remaining forces of the heavenly netherworld divine nation. This is what you deserve. I have always followed the principle of equality and mutual benefit. As the god's emissary here, and with Luo Yen here, I have some feelings for him. If you feel embarrassed, you can nurture Luo Yen more." Lee Tianyun hadn't been with Luo Yen for a long time, but since he called him godfather, he would definitely take care of him. All right then. Bai Shui Huang wasn't a person who liked to talk nonsense. Since Lee Tianyun said so, she wouldn't refuse. "Godfather, are you leaving?" Luo Yen walked over at this time. She was reluctant to part with Lee Tianyun. Although her memory was restored, she didn't forget the time when Lee Tianyun took care of her. Therefore, she felt a little embarrassed to call him that, but she was still very close to him. "Yes, I'm going to the heavenly world." Lee Tianyun rubbed her little head and said with smile, "I hope that when I come back next time, you will become stronger and become the pillar of the Phoenix clan." "I will." Luo Yen waved her little fist and said with smile, "At that time, it won't be Godfather protecting me, it will be me protecting Godfather. I will wait for your protection." Lee Tianyun smiled and rubbed her little head, and immediately after saying goodbye to the other elders, he left the place. Fortunately, the divine envoy we recruited is not a cruel person, otherwise, with his cultivation, I'm afraid that our Phoenix clan won't be able to survive. The 3 old ancestors shook their heads. If he was a cruel person, I wouldn't have chosen him as the divine envoy. Bai Shui Huang smiled slightly. Divine envoy is a righteous person. Just look at the situation with Luo Yen. If you are good to him, he will be good to you. In the future, we must be on the same side as the divine envoy. No matter what he chooses to do, we must be on the same side as him. They nodded heavily. After this battle, they all felt that Lee Tianyun was a very good person and a very good ally. Ding! Successfully completed emergency quest, Rescue Phoenix Clan. Reward, 500. 000 EXP, 100. 000 CPS, 200 Phoenix Clan's favorability increased by 100. 000 SBS. At this moment, a notification popped up. It meant that the quest was completed, and they would receive a large reward. In the blink of an eye, Lee Tianyun arrived in front of the Heaven Ascending Divine Altar. The heavenly netherworld divine nation's cultivators who were originally stationed here have already disappeared. Instead, there was a group of ordinary cultivators who came here to take a look and see if they could enter the heaven ascending divine altar. They wanted to enter the heaven ascending divine altar for a long time, but this was the territory of the heavenly netherworld divine nation. Now that the heavenly netherworld divine nation is gone, the Phoenix clan didn't come to take over the heaven ascending divine altar, so everyone thought that the heaven ascending divine altar was unclaimed. The reason why the Phoenix clan didn't come to take over the heaven ascending divine altar was because they knew that it was Yi Tianyun's territory. Yi Tianyun didn't say anything as he didn't dare to take over the heaven ascending divine altar. Many divine rune masters and powerful spirit king experts came to take a look and see if they could sneak in. However, no matter how hard they tried, it was useless as they were all repelled by the powerful divine runes. What the hell is going on? How can such a powerful divine rune defense be able to enter? Who opened it? Could it be the heavenly netherworld divine nation? Or the Phoenix clan? I don't know. I heard that heavenly netherworld divine nation can't enter the heaven ascending divine altar. The Phoenix clan has never been here before, so it's impossible for them to open the heaven ascending divine altar. That's strange. Why would they do that? We can't even enter the heaven ascending divine altar. They shook their heads helplessly as no one could enter the heaven ascending divine altar. From today onwards, this place belongs to our Yulong divine nation. Everyone, disperse. At this time, an expert walked up the stairs and shouted to the crowd. If Yi Tianyun was here, he would definitely recognize him. He was Grand Master Tianqing, who was originally in Wave Shipping City, but he didn't expect to see him here. Chapter 657. What's going on? This is an ownerless land. How can it be yours? That's right. How can it be yours? Your Imperial Dragon Divine Nation is strong, but this place is empty because the Phoenix race destroyed the heavenly netherworld divine nation. Maybe the Phoenix race will come and take it. If the Phoenix race comes, let's see how you deal with it. Everyone was filled with indignation and dissatisfaction. The Phoenix race didn't say anything, so how could the Imperial Dragon Divine Nation occupy this place? They were even more unwilling to stop exploring. Rumor had it that there was an inheritance here, so how could they miss this opportunity? If the Phoenix race comes to take it, we will give it to them. Since this is an ownerless land, we will manage it for the Phoenix race. If you want to continue exploring, we welcome you at any time, but you have to get our permission first. Grandmaster Tianqing said coldly. Moreover, you have already tried it, but it didn't work. I advise you to leave as soon as possible. Grandmaster Tianqing's words were high-sounding. Helping the Phoenix race to manage the Phoenix race? It sounded even better than singing. However, many cultivators still wanted to retreat. They had already tried it, but it all ended in failure. There was a chance that they could break it, but there was also a chance that they couldn't. But now that they were taken over by the Imperial Dragon Divine Nation, they couldn't fight against a divine nation. According to the ranking, the Imperial Dragon Divine Nation wasn't even in the top 10, but it was still a divine nation. Even if they didn't have Saint King stage powerhouses, they would definitely have a lot of Spirit King stage powerhouses, especially now that Grandmaster Tianqing was a divine rune grandmaster. Although his rank was a little low, his status was much higher than most of the people here. We want to continue trying. A small group of people stood up and said, Yes, each of you can give us a mid-grade soul tool. Grandmaster Tianqing said. What? Everyone was shocked and immediately said angrily, That's impossible. This is an ignorant land. Why do you have to charge us? Didn't I say that you can just agree? Why do you still have to charge us? We are charging for the Phoenix race. Although the Phoenix race didn't come to take over this place, if they do, we will take good care of it. Maintaining this place requires a lot of resources. Your expenses are equivalent to offering to the Phoenix clan. Grandmaster Tianqing's words were reasonable, which made them speechless. If the Phoenix clan really came over, they would definitely offer it up with both hands. Even if there was no such thing, the Imperial Dragon Divine Empire would not dare to go against the Phoenix race. The two of them were not on the same level. If they didn't come, it would mean that they had taken it. Their scheming was obvious. This is my territory. Since when did you have the right to collect fees? At this moment, a figure walked out from the crowd. Everyone looked over and saw a young man walking out from the crowd. It's you. When Grandmaster Tianqing saw Yi Tianyun clearly, he flew into a rage. He had been humiliated by Yi Tianyun earlier, and he had been holding a grudge against him ever since. Now that he saw Yi Tianyun again, he was even more furious. This is my territory. Since when did you have the right to decide? Yi Tianyun said coldly. The Phoenix clan didn't say anything. What right do you have to occupy this place? Yi Tianyun found it funny. This Imperial Dragon Divine Empire really knew how to take advantage of loopholes. They thought that the Phoenix clan didn't come to take it, so they rushed over to take it. They even said that they were helping the Phoenix clan. If the Phoenix clan really came, they would hand it over immediately. They could even befriend the Phoenix clan. Their wishful thinking was really good. Your territory? Grandmaster Tianqing was furious. What a joke. If the Phoenix clan found out about this, I think it wouldn't be enough for you to die 100 times. Then you call the Phoenix clan over. Let's see if they will let me die 100 times. Tianyun said coldly. Get down here. He raised his hand in the air and slapped Grandmaster Tianqing's face. But Grandmaster Tianqing tumbled down the stairs. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, he tumbled several times before finally falling to the ground. His face was swollen badly. The surrounding crowd sucked in a breath of cold air. This new young man was quite hot-tempered. Most importantly, his cultivation was not bad. This kid is dead for sure. The Imperial Dragon Divine Empire is not so easy to mess with. Especially when he is helping the Phoenix clan. No matter if he is helping the Phoenix clan or not, this kid is courting death. Yes, the Imperial Dragon Divine Empire wants to borrow flowers to offer Buddha. Before they take over this place, they quickly come over to help. At that time, no matter if the Phoenix clan is willing to take it or not, they will profit. This kid is still too young. He doesn't even understand. He probably came from some mountain village. He doesn't know what kind of monster he provoked. The surrounding crowd couldn't help but laugh. They felt that Yi Tianyun was too reckless. You actually dare to hit me. I am the Imperial Preceptor of the Imperial Dragon Divine Empire. Grandmaster Tianqing jumped up and pointed at him angrily. Capture him and bring him to the Phoenix clan. Make him beg for forgiveness. I am helping the Phoenix clan to manage this place. But someone wants to barge in. This is a big crime. Yes, Imperial Preceptor. The guard at the side was stunned. He immediately pounced towards Yi Tianyun and wanted to capture him. I haven't seen you for a while, and now you are the Imperial Preceptor of the Imperial Dragon Divine Empire? It seems like the Imperial Dragon Divine Empire is really stupid to hire you as their Imperial Preceptor. Yi Tianyun sneered and said, Get lost. Get lost. Yi Tianyun slapped the guard and sent him flying. Even if they didn't die, they were at least seriously injured. Yi Tianyun's action shocked many people. On the one hand, they were shocked by Yi Tianyun's cultivation. Although the guard's cultivation was not high, they were still at the Void Spirit Stage 8th layer. Doesn't this mean that this young man's cultivation is at least at the Spirit King stage? On the other hand, they felt that Yi Tianyun's courage was really big. He dared to go against the Imperial Dragon Divine Empire. Even if he was at the Spirit King stage, he was obviously insignificant in the face of a divine nation. You are determined to go against the Imperial Dragon Divine Empire and the Phoenix clan? Grandmaster Tianqing covered his face and looked at Yi Tianyun in horror. So what? Yi Tianyun said coldly. You are blocking my way. This heaven ascending divine altar is my territory. No matter who comes here, they will die if they dare to provoke me. His words caused many people to suck in a breath of cold air. His tone was really arrogant. Did he not put any forces in his eyes? Can he enter the heaven ascending divine altar? Immediately, Yi Tianyun lifted his foot and walked towards the heaven ascending divine altar. But he didn't go far before he heard an uproar. The Phoenix Clan's divine messenger is here. It's really the Phoenix Clan's divine messenger. This is going to be interesting. Chapter 658. The divine nation of the Phoenix race was here. All the cultivators looked like they were waiting for a good show. They had been talking about the Phoenix race before. Now that the real divine nation of the Phoenix race was here, they wondered how this would end. Most people thought that Tianyun was dead for sure. Imperial Dragon Divine Nation was a bootlicker. Even if the Phoenix race didn't buy it, they wouldn't vent their anger on Imperial Dragon Divine Nation. Tianyun was different. He chose to force his way in. This would easily anger the Phoenix race. When Grandmaster Tianqing saw the divine Phoenix messenger, he immediately covered his face and ran over. He shouted, "Divine Phoenix messenger, Divine Phoenix messenger, you're finally here?" His fawning expression was disgusting. If this was the Imperial Preceptor of Imperial Dragon Divine Nation, he would be a disgrace to the nation. This attitude was really too low. How was this the feeling of a teacher of a nation? However, the others didn't laugh at him. Grandmaster Tianqing was a wise man. If he kept a straight face, he would be killed by the Phoenix race without knowing what would happen. Our Imperial Dragon Divine Kingdom has just arrived to help the Phoenix race guard this altar and prevent others from getting close. Who knew that this brat wouldn't know what's good for him and insisted on forcing his way in? Not only did he injure me, he also injured one of our people. Grandmaster Tianqing's face was swollen. He looked very comical. He was still smiling, which made him look very funny. The Phoenix race didn't just have one divine phoenix. There were several of them. The phoenix following behind them was the best proof. Tianyun didn't summon his ice phoenix. He wouldn't summon it under normal circumstances. His speed wasn't as fast as his, so he wouldn't summon it normally. The Phoenix Divine Envoy stared coldly at Grandmaster Tianqing and slapped him across the face. With a loud slap, Grandmaster Tianqing was sent flying. After being sent flying for a distance, he even rolled a few times on the ground, his whole body lying on the ground in a daze. Not only was Grandmaster Tianqing stunned, but the surrounding cultivators were also stunned. Was it wrong for Grandmaster Tianqing to do this? Not only had he failed to flatter the right person, but he had also slapped the horse's leg and got kicked instead? Divine Phoenix Envoy, I was just worried that the altar would be destroyed by others, so I had them guard this place. I didn't really intend to take it for myself. Grandmaster Tianqing hurriedly scrambled to his feet to explain. He didn't want to be misunderstood, or else it would be troublesome. Imperial Dragon Divine Empire would definitely eliminate him without hesitation and would not protect him. Grandmaster Tianqing really thought that he had done something wrong, which was why he had been beaten up by the Phoenix Divine Envoy. It wasn't just him, everyone else was thinking the same thing. The Phoenix Divine Emissary didn't bother to pay attention to him and walked towards Tianyun. She immediately put her hands together and bowed deeply. "Greetings, foreign great elder." He was very respectful. The news of Tianyun saving the entire Phoenix clan had already spread far and wide. Everyone knew about it, so they were very grateful to Tianyun for helping them solve this problem. He was definitely the Phoenix clan's savior. Because of this, Tianyun became their great elder, and everyone in the Phoenix clan had to treat him like a great elder. His authority was equal to that of a great elder. "Oh, I've become a great elder of the Phoenix clan?" Tianyun found this interesting, but it wasn't unexpected. He knew that the Phoenix clan was doing this to rope him in and give him better treatment. He didn't expect this, so he could accept it calmly. He was already a divine envoy, so becoming a great elder of the Phoenix clan wasn't a big deal. "Yes, after a discussion, you've become a great elder of the Phoenix clan. Your authority is equal to that of a great elder," the Phoenix Divine Envoy said respectfully. These two simple sentences made everyone dumbfounded once again. Great elder, a great elder of the Phoenix clan. When had the Phoenix clan ever seen a great elder of the Phoenix clan? This was definitely the first time they heard of a great elder of the Phoenix clan, and his authority was equal to that of a great elder. They all wondered if they were hallucinating. Did I hear it wrong? Great Elder of the Phoenix Clan. This kid is the Great Elder of the Phoenix Clan. Sure. Don't drag me down if you want to die, kid. This is the Great Elder. This is unbelievable. If the divine envoy of the Phoenix Clan didn't say it, I wouldn't dare to believe it. Even if the divine envoy of the Phoenix Clan said it, I wouldn't dare to believe it. This time, the Imperial Dragon Divine Nation is finished, and the one they offended is the Great Elder of the Phoenix Clan. No wonder he kept saying that this territory is his. He wasn't saying it randomly, it's the truth. Everyone was stunned, and they finally knew what was going on. Everything he said wasn't boasting, it was the truth. Grandmaster Tunqing was also stunned, and he pointed at Yi Tianyun with a trembling finger. How is this possible? Wasn't it a foreign kid just now? This? He was stupefied, and his intestines turned green with regret. How was he kicking an iron plate? He had kicked a giant mountain. Thank you for your concern, go back. Also, I don't want to see that guy again, help me deal with him. Yi Tianyun looked at Grandmaster Tianqing indifferently, and he couldn't be bothered to deal with him personally. He wouldn't gain much experience, and it would be a waste of his time. If not for these guys, he would have long entered the heaven-ascending divine altar and left, and he wouldn't be stuck here wasting his time. Yes, Elder Yi. The Phoenix Divine Envoy turned to look at Grandmaster Tianqing, and her eyes were as cold as ice. The Great Elder's authority is inviolable. Your Imperial Dragon Divine Nation is really bold. I can explain. Grandmaster Tianqing was so scared that he wanted to cry, but he didn't know what to say. In the end, Yi Tianyun didn't even bother to look at Grandmaster Tianqing, and he lifted his foot and walked into the gate. The divine runes that were hard to break had no effect on him at all. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw Yi Tianyun's action. The divine runes didn't have any effect on him at all. Screams could be heard coming from outside, but Yi Tianyun didn't bother to pay attention to them, and he continued to walk inside. With a teleportation, Yi Tianyun instantly arrived at the central area, and a delicate voice sounded in his ears again. You broke through. The little girl's phantom appeared and looked at Yi Tianyun in surprise. In such a short time, Yi Tianyun had broken through to the Spirit King stage, and even she couldn't see through his cultivation. Although Yi Tianyun's cultivation is almost the same, but Yi Tianyun has a lot of equipment, it can play a certain role in concealment. If the cultivation gap is not big, it is really difficult to see. Yes, I can control the teleportation array here to go to the heavenly realm, right? Yi Tianyun smiled indifferently. No problem, I thought I would have to wait for another few decades, but I didn't expect you to come back in such a short time, and you even found Master's descendant? The Phantom was surprised. Yes, there is no problem at all, it's my luck. Yi Tianyun smiled. If it wasn't for his kindness, he would have missed Jiu Lingyun. Sometimes, being kind can be very beneficial to oneself. Chapter 659. Yi Tianyun confirmed that he was qualified to control the Heaven Ascension Altar, so he immediately stepped on the teleportation array to the Heaven Realm. The teleportation array in the Heaven Realm was the peak of the Heaven Ascension Altar, and the huge teleportation array was the Heaven Realm teleportation array. In order to be able to teleport to the Heaven Realm, the Heaven-creating Divine King really spent a lot of effort to carve this array. The main reason he did this was to ensure that there was another way to go to the Heaven Realm in the case that the passage was damaged, so that the two realms could be connected. Now that the Ghost Realm and the Heaven Realm were blocked, the passage was unstable and could not be casually passed through. If he forcibly passed through, there was no doubt that it would be very dangerous. Fortunately, there was the Heaven Ascension Altar here, which could easily lead to the Heaven Realm. This teleportation array could not only teleport one person, but also a large group of people. As long as there was enough spiritual power, it could teleport more people. Now that he was the only one being teleported, it was relatively simple and did not need to consume too much spiritual power. Let's start, teleport to the Heaven Realm. Yi Tianyun said to the Phantom next to him. Yes, Master. The Phantom had now recognized Yi Tianyun as the next Master. As long as his cultivation reached the standard, he could become the real master. Immediately, the Phantom began to activate the teleportation array. Soon, the entire Heaven Ascension altar was shaking, and the teleportation array was emitting light. When the rogue cultivators outside saw the situation, they were shocked, not knowing what was happening. What's going on? After the foreign Grand Elder went in, this happened. Could it be that something opened? God knows, we can just watch from the side, but this time, the Imperial Dragon Divine Kingdom has to pay a price. They found an idiot Imperial Preceptor. Not only did it not bring them any benefits, but it also caused a lot of trouble. Hee, this is a little interesting. Everyone was in the mood to watch the show. Anyway, they had no relationship with the Imperial Dragon Divine Kingdom, so it did not matter what happened. Buzz. Just when they were wondering what would happen here, the Heaven Ascension Divine Altar suddenly blasted out a huge pillar of light that soared into the sky, piercing through the clouds, as if it was connected to the heavens. The earth trembled, and the ground within a radius of 10 li shook as if there was an earthquake. However, the beam of light disappeared as quickly as it came. In the blink of an eye, the beam of light that connected the sky disappeared. Everything returned to normal as if nothing had happened. Nothing happened? Everyone was confused. It seemed like there was such a big commotion, but who knew that nothing had happened? They had thought that Tianyun would activate some sort of formation or attack, or perhaps some sort of heavenly phenomenon. Who would have thought that he would disappear in the blink of an eye? While they were guessing, Tianyun felt a tug on his body after a short period of teleportation. If not for the fact that his cultivation was not low, he would have been torn in half on the spot. The terrifying pulling force was enough to tear someone with a low cultivation into countless pieces. This process only took less than a few seconds, and he felt that he had entered a strange space, and his vision quickly recovered. The first thing that came into view was still a large formation, and he was still standing on the spacious heaven altar. If he observed carefully, he found that the divine runes here had changed greatly, and there were many changes compared to before. This was a matter of course. From the heaven realm to the underworld, the teleportation formation must be a little different. He did not think that the teleportation failed. If it failed, then he would not be the heaven-creating divine king. The Heaven Ascension Divine Altar's teleportation formation was different from the passage he had encountered before. It was not random, but the same teleportation formation was built here in the heaven realm. The appearance was almost exactly the same, there was no difference. He could also control this place, and there was no change from before. He could still control all the divine runes inside, turning this place into a very strong fortress, difficult to be broken. At the beginning, the heaven-creating divine king's idea was that the two worlds could send reinforcements at any time, in order to suppress the foreign demons. The normal passage between the two worlds was too slow, and it was better to pass in batches here. In addition, the passage was easy to be destroyed, and its stability was definitely not as good as the teleportation formation, so the heaven-creating divine king specially spent some effort to build it. He lifted his feet and walked outside, and what came into view was the vast mountains and rivers. There was no big change in the appearance. Although the heaven realm and the underworld sounded very domineering, in fact, the two were similar, and the difference in the concentration of spiritual power was not big. The only difference was the difference in the spiritual power, not the difference in concentration, but the spiritual power of the heaven realm contained a bit of yang qi. The underworld, on the other hand, contained a bit of yin qi. For the cultivation of different powers, it would be helpful. Of course, it could be completely ignored. The Phoenix clan was the fire of yang, but wasn't it still in the underworld? But if one stayed in the corresponding place, it would definitely be helpful, there was no doubt about this. The mortal realm was a mixed area of both, inclusive and did not reject any power. The overall situation did not change much. It was not that the scenery here was like the immortal world, but the underworld was like a scene of hell. In fact, it was just a name. It was just that compared to the heaven ascending divine altar in the underworld, the heaven ascending divine altar in the heaven realm had changed a lot. From here, people came and went frequently in and out of the heaven ascending divine altar. It seemed that they came from different forces. Obviously, this place was different from the underworld. Could it let others come in at will? The only difference was that no one could come up to the top of the heaven-ascending divine altar. As long as one came close to this place, flying was prohibited. The heaven-creating divine king did not want others to come up, otherwise, it would be dangerous if the teleportation divine runes here were destroyed. Interesting, I don't know why this situation would happen. Etienne figure flashed, and immediately disappeared from the teleportation array, as if no one had appeared here. Hey, I thought I saw a figure on the heaven-ascending divine altar just now? Where? Why didn't I see it? Are you seeing things? For so many years, no one has ever gone up, and anyone who approached was immediately suppressed. Really, could it be that my eyes are really playing tricks on me? One of the cultivators scratched his head, and when he looked carefully over there, he found that he really did not see anyone. No one had been able to climb to the top, so he immediately thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. It's your eyes, let's go down quickly. The heaven-ascending divine temple is ready to open the trial. If we don't go soon, there will be no place for us. Chapter 660. There's a 4th grade recovery pill here. It's a must-have pill for recovery in the Heaven Temple trial. There's equipment to reduce the pressure of the trial here. It's absolutely discounted. Come and have a look. I have a special martial art here. After you practice it, I guarantee that you will pass the trial easily. Bullshit. If it's easy, why don't you practice it? If I practice it, will you have a chance? I'm giving you the chance, understand? In the spacious passage inside the Heaven Temple, there were all kinds of cultivators hawking their wares on both sides. All kinds of treasures were placed on the side, just like a lively market. Compared to the underworld was directly occupied by the heavenly netherworld divine kingdom, but here it was completely open, which was very strange. If it was said that the heaven realm did not have any powerful forces from the underworld, this was impossible. There must be even more powerful forces here, but no one had monopolized this place. This was very strange. It's really lively here. Compared to the underworld, the heaven realm is more respectful to the heaven-creating divine king. They dare not monopolize this place. The young man who looked around on the aisle was Etienne. He understood the overall situation from the phantom here and knew why this place was not monopolized. The heaven-creating divine king said that this place was permanently open to the public, and anyone could come in for the trial. The time was once every 10 years. If it was too frequent, the Heaven Temple would not be able to bear the torment. The consumption of spiritual power was too much, and it must be slowly recovered over a long period of time. Otherwise, it would not be enough for them to participate in the trial. This did not mean that the heavenly netherworld divine kingdom was too arrogant, but only the heaven realm was open. Because the underworld had its own forces, it would not be open to the public. There were no forces in the heaven realm, so it would be open to the public, allowing others to come in for the trial. However, it was just a trial, and the other places would not be open at will. It was impossible to walk around here at will. Except for when it was time to prepare for the trial, it would not be open for the rest of the time. However, no matter how heaven-defying the geniuses here were, they would not choose an inheritor. It would only be open to the Heaven Temple in the underworld. The reason was simple. The underworld had its own descendants. No matter how selfless the heaven-creating divine king was, he was still biased towards his descendants, so it was normal to specifically choose the underworld to choose an inheritor. But after he left, there was no way to change the rules. The spirits here looked vivid and lifelike, as if they were alive. However, no matter how much it resembled a living being, it was still an inanimate object. Everything had to be done according to the rules. The heaven-creating divine king was very powerful, but he was not a real god. He could not create life. Thus, the heaven realm's ascension god palace could be opened at will. Adding on the restrictions of the rules, even if someone wanted to monopolize it, they could not. Unless there was a god king stronger than the heaven-creating divine king, there was no way to forcibly occupy the heaven ascension temple. The reason why the Heaven Ascension Temple in the underworld could be occupied at will was mainly because the restrictions were not strong. Originally, the heaven-creating Divine King had set such rules, so there was no problem. "Kid, do you want a weapon?" A cultivator at the side shouted at him. "This weapon of mine will make it easier for you during the trial. The price is not expensive, just 500,000 spiritual stones, and you can take it away." Lee Dong-yun smiled and came to his stall to pick up the short sword. After the people on the side saw it, they couldn't help but shake their heads, thinking that a naive kid was about to take the bait. This weapon is just a low-grade soul tool, and the price is as high as 500,000 spiritual stones. Besides, is it really effective? Lee Dong-yun tossed the short sword and said with a smile. "How can it not be effective? The effect is absolutely amazing. As long as you buy it when the time comes for the trial, if it doesn't work, just come to me." The vendor patted his chest confidently. Lee Dong-yun sneered in his heart. It would be really strange if he could see him after the trial. He came over to talk, nothing more than to inquire about some information. 500,000 spiritual stones as the inquiry fee was not a problem. He chose this vendor mainly because he seemed to be the type of person who could search for information, so he casually asked him about it. When he was just about to speak, a young man next to him suddenly shouted, "Friend, don't buy these things, it's not effective at all." "Kid, what are you talking about?" The vendor immediately pointed at him and said angrily, "Don't talk nonsense if you don't want to buy it. Didn't your master teach you not to talk nonsense outside?" The young man was scared and stepped back a few steps, but he still said in a low voice, "This is what my master taught me, it's useless to say anything." Lee Dong-yun immediately laughed. The vendor also laughed, but this time he laughed because he was angry. "It seems that you are courting death." The vendor angrily stretched out his hand and wanted to slap the young man away. The young man was about to take the bait. If the young man ran away, then he would have come here in vain. The young man's face turned pale. He hurriedly tried to dodge, but he couldn't avoid the palm. His cultivation was only at first level of core condensation. He should have just broken through not long ago. The vendor's cultivation was at second level of core transformation. The gap between the two was too big. If the vendor didn't even have this cultivation, he really wouldn't dare to come here. At least, he should be able to fly. If he can't fly, how can he escape? Bang! A hand firmly grabbed the vendor's hand, making him unable to move. The one who stopped him was none other than Lee Dong-yun, who stretched out his hand to block the vendor's hand. The vendor was shocked. His palm strength was not that big, but it was definitely not that easy to resist. Lee Dong-yun can easily grab the vendor. It means that his cultivation is definitely not bad. "Brat, what do you mean by this? Don't tell me you're with him?" The vendor was not happy. He immediately suspected that the two of them were together, otherwise why would he help? Lee Tianyun's eyes flashed. The vendor's eyes immediately blurred. He no longer said half a word. He was easily controlled by Lee Tianyun. There were a lot of people here. If he stretched out his hand and slapped him, it would be difficult to inquire about the news, so it was best to control him. The young man who was ready to be hit found that the vendor was not moving. He immediately wanted to run, but he was quickly pulled by Lee Tianyun. "I don't know your name yet." Lee Tianyun was a bit interested in this young man. He was very kind. The two of them didn't know each other, but he still spoke to remind them. My name is Hee Rongkuin." Hee Rongkuin looked at the vendor next to him with a pale face. He was really worried that he would suddenly attack again. He can't withstand the attack of a core transformation cultivator. "Hee Rongkuin, then you go back first. I will find you later and give you a good fortune." Lee Dong-yun smiled and signaled him to leave. Good fortune? Hee Rongkuin scratched his head in doubt. He didn't know what Lee Dong-yun said, but he was worried that the vendor would catch up, so he hurriedly left. "Friend, don't believe this. I will go first. Master is waiting for me." Chapter 661. Of course, Lee Dong-yun knew that this hawker was a liar. He knew it for a long time, but he only talked to him to get some information. However, he didn't expect that he would be dissuaded by a young man. In such a chaotic world, there was still such a kind person, and he had always appreciated it. Since this young man was willing to help him, then he will give him some good fortune. But before that, he had to get the details out of the hawker first. After taking control of the hawker, Lee Tianyun began to interrogate him. He wanted to know everything about the heaven realm, but he couldn't collect too much information from the phantom. He couldn't go down to collect information, and most of the cultivators would come here once every 10 years, so it was rare for them to reveal information about certain aspects. Lee Tianyun could only collect information by asking the people here, among which Shi Shuiyun's information was the most important. He wouldn't be stupid enough to ask where Shi Shuiyun was, because who would know where Shi Shuiyun was? The information he wanted to collect was very simple. He just had to ask all the forces in the heaven realm. He wanted to see which forces valued the ice attribute physique more, and this was very likely. In addition, the cultivation environment was also the same. Shi Shuiyun's physique was the ice saint body, which meant that she must cultivate in a place of extreme cold in order to maximize the effect of her physique. Soon Lee Tianyun got the general information from the hawker, and as he thought, this hawker knew a lot, and many small forces knew about it. There are more than 6 or 7 people who meet the requirements. Is this still the heaven realm? Lee Tianyun felt a little speechless. The spiritual power in the heaven realm was more inclined to Yang Qi, but who knew that there were 6 or 7 places of extreme cold, which really went against the original intention of the heaven realm. However, nature was ever-changing. Even in an extremely hot place, there was a possibility of an extremely cold place appearing. The world was vast and there was no place that didn't have such things. Now that there were more than 6 or 7 people, Lee Tianyun had to exclude them a little bit. Lee Tianyun heard that their cultivation was above the Spirit King stage, which meant that the other party's force should be very strong, at least above the 4th stage, which was the level of an empire. After this elimination, there were still 6 or 7 people left, which really gave him a headache. They were already powerful enough to begin with, and they were unfamiliar with this place. It was impossible for them to ask him if he knew Shi Shuiyun the moment they met. If that was the case, wouldn't he be called a lunatic? It seems that I have to search for them one by one. The area of the branch is really wide, Lee Tianyun said as he shook his head. He felt that even with his amazing speed, it would take him several years to search for all the branches in the branch. It was possible that they might not even be able to find it after they finished searching. He was only selecting the most likely information. The heaven realm was simply too big. It was impossible for this peddler to know everything. It was very likely that it was a hidden family clan or a small force. These were all possibilities. It was impossible for his judgment to be completely correct. Everything was based on intuition. Right soul guidance. Lee Tianyun recalled that when he had obtained the title of Soul Guide, he had obtained the title of Soul Guide, which could guide him to the target of his mission. The main mission happened to be to find Shi Shuiyun, so if he used soul guidance, wouldn't he be able to find her? He couldn't wait to slap himself. How could he forget about this matter? Immediately, he opened the shop, and soon everything came into view. The things he got from the lottery or the things he got from killing enemies appeared in this shop. It meant that he could spend a lot of money to buy dropped items. It was very user-friendly. However, the price was not very user-friendly. It was basically dozens of times more expensive than the selling price. It was like a saint tool was sold for tens of thousands of crazy points at most, but if he bought it in the shop, he would need millions of crazy points. Soon, he found soul guidance, and when he saw the price, his face suddenly changed. 3 million crazy points. This made him want to vomit blood. If it was before, he could casually throw out 3 million crazy points, but now that he leveled up crazy mode, it was basically 0. His net worth was less than 1 million crazy points, and most of his things were given to the Heavenly Clouds Empire. However, even if he sold all of them, he estimated that it would be 6 to 7 million crazy points, but it was too much of a loss. So many saint tools, so many martial arts, if he sold them, it would be too much of a loss. The saint tools sold in the shop were sold for 1 million crazy points, but it was only sold for more than 10,000 crazy points, which meant that even if he sold saint tools, he would need to sell at least 300 of them. Heaven-level martial arts were sold at a price of more than 10,000 crazy points. Middle-grade martial arts were slightly more expensive, and the most expensive one was upper-grade martial arts, which was as high as 100,000 crazy points. It's just that the number of upper-grade sacred tools he had was relatively small. Of course, he gave all of them to Yue and the others, and he didn't leave anything for himself unless he sold the divine tools. One divine tool cost 1 million crazy points, but he was reluctant to sell it. It was too wasteful. 3 million crazy points, I should be able to get it soon. Yi Tianyun shook his head. He planned to hunt higher-level demon beasts, which was undoubtedly the fastest solution. Perhaps these things were not as valuable as a finger of Shi Shuiyun, but at the moment, Shi Shuiyun's situation was certainly not dangerous, so he was not in a hurry. If it was dangerous, he would have sold all of his belongings long ago, regardless of whether his opponent was a saint king or a divine king. It's almost time, the trial is about to start. If you want to buy, it will be too late. My martial god's robe can definitely take you to the sky, easily pass the trial, and get the reward. The power of my heavenly god's pill is even more amazing. It will be easy for you to climb the stairs, absolutely no pressure. It was almost time to start, and the hawkers were shouting hard, but they didn't move. They didn't want to participate in the trial. The Heaven Realm's Heaven Ascending Divine Altar is very strict. There are great restrictions on age and cultivation level. One must be above the core condensation stage. Cultivation level within the core transformation stage does not include the core transformation stage. The age cannot be older than 30. These peddlers were already over 30 years old, and their cultivation level was already at the core transformation stage, so they could only come here to swindle money. They also had a good excuse to say that if they weren't too old, they would have already taken the treasures to participate in the trial. It's almost time, after giving him a good fortune, it's time to find a good place to hunt demon beasts and earn some crazy points. Yi Tianyun nodded. Temporarily set this plan, or look at the wanted poster. There are still many ways to earn crazy points. 3 million crazy points was difficult to earn in the past, but now it's not bad. Chapter 662. Before Yi Tianyun left, he plundered all of the peddler's treasures, not even leaving a single spirit stone. For a swindler, being able to survive in his hands was already good enough. So many treasures were equivalent to selling one's life. What swindler, daring to deceive him? In the end, he even wanted to violently beat up Yi Tianyun. He would definitely not be polite and take everything away, not leaving a single coin. Very soon, the peddler came back to his senses and found that he was swimming naked in the outermost river, completely unaware of what had happened. What am I doing? The peddler was dumbfounded. Even his initial memories were gone. Yi Tianyun made him lose even his previous memories, in order to make Ronkuin safer. Although the heaven realm was vast, it was very likely that they would meet, so he removed a part of the peddler's memory. At the same time, all the qualified cultivators on the Heaven Ascension Temple's side rushed inside. Yi Tianyun followed them in. The environment here was no different from the Heaven Ascension Temple in the Netherworld. It was basically the same, except for the teleportation runes on the top floor. There was no difference in the rest. This meant that the content of the trial was exactly the same, first climbing the ladder, then climbing the steps. There was no change. The only change was that those who successfully reached the top would be rewarded with martial arts. This was one of their biggest attractions. The trial not only could improve their cultivation, but they could also obtain martial arts as a reward. Why not? When Yi Tianyun walked to the front of the passage, he immediately saw the familiar figure of the youth. I heard that you almost caused trouble just now? A middle-aged man complained to Ronkuin. No. Disciple just saw that he was about the same age as Disciple and felt that it was not easy to come here, so I just said a few words to persuade him. I didn't say much. Ronkuin lowered his head pitifully, like a child who had done something wrong. I didn't do anything. I just told you to ignore these swindlers. I didn't tell you to ignore others. If you provoke them, even I can't deal with them. Some of their cultivation is higher than your master's. Without a doubt, this man was Ronkuin's master, Wei Feizhou. He had an expression of exasperation. His cultivation was not bad, He was at the third level of the core transformation stage. He could be considered a good teacher. However, his words were indeed true. If he Ronquin were to casually cause trouble outside, it would really be difficult for him to stop those hawkers. Some of the peddlers were at 7th or 8th level of core transformation stage. Some of them were normal, but most of them were swindlers. They just wanted to make a fortune and leave. In this day and age, those who were kind-hearted were the stupid ones. It was obvious that the force that he Ronquin belonged to was not a big one. Yi Tianyun smiled knowingly. This was really difficult. So it turned out that she had decided to help because she saw that they were of the same age. Her heart was a bit pure. I'm sorry, master. I won't do it again. He Ronquin apologized profusely. Would there be a next time? Wei Feizhou glared at him. No, there won't be a next time. He Ronquin hurriedly said. When Wei Feizhou saw his disciple nodding seriously, he sighed and said, Ronquin, master knows that you are kind-hearted, but people are evil now. Even if you help them, it doesn't mean that they will repay you. Except for your own family, you can't trust anyone else. Do you understand? I understand, master. He Ronquin nodded to show that he understood. It's good that you understand. Get ready, you will go up later. Wei Feizhou smiled and patted Yi Tianyun's shoulder. He said with a smile, perform well later. If you can't do it, just come down. I believe that you will definitely be able to climb higher this time. At least, you will be able to enter the top 300 steps. I will. He Ronquin was full of confidence in himself. Then, from the corner of his eyes, he saw Yi Tianyun walking towards him. He smiled and said, It seems that the hawker did not make things difficult for you. Thanks to your reminder, I was not cheated. Yi Tianyun smiled and walked towards him. He did not say that he would not cheat. We didn't do anything. Why would he make things difficult for us? He didn't go around saying that he was cheating people. Naturally, he would not make things difficult for us. Could this be the friend that you tried to persuade? Wei Feizhou frowned and looked at Yi Tianyun from head to toe, but he couldn't see through Yi Tianyun. Yes, this is the friend that I tried to persuade. He Ronquin smiled at Yi Tianyun and said, That's great. The trial is about to begin. You can participate now. No, I won't participate. I just came to take a look. Yi Tianyun smiled. He definitely wouldn't participate. There was no meaning to it. He was the owner of the heaven ascending altar. Why would he participate? Moreover, his cultivation had already broken through to Saint Ruler. The trial would not have any effect on him. At most, it would give him a few million or 10 million experience points. What meaning was there to him now? You're not participating? He Ronquin and Wei Feizhou were shocked. Was he not going to participate? Most of the people who came here were either to train or to sell things outside. It was that simple. As for people who came here to stroll, it was really rare. Especially since Yi Tianyun looked so young. They should have gone to train together. Wei Feizhou's frown deepened. He looked at him and asked, Little friend, I wonder which sect you are from? Where is your master? Did he not come with you? I don't belong to any sect. I'm just a lone cultivator. I'm just strolling around. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, Don't belong to any sect? A lone cultivator? Wei Feizhou shook his head. He thought that Yi Tianyun was a disciple of a powerful force. But it seemed that Yi Tianyun was just strolling around. But even if he was strolling around, he still had to go for a trial. Since he was already here, it would be a waste if he didn't go. It would be a pity if I don't go. He Ronquin shook his head. He smiled and said, I almost forgot to introduce myself. I am He Ronquin. How should I address you, friend? Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun said simply. Yi Tianyun? He Ronquin was startled. He murmured, Yi Tianyun, Yi Tianyun. This name sounds familiar. Familiar? Yi Tianyun was a little confused. He smiled and said, Maybe the names are overlapping. The world is so big. There should be many people with the same name. I remember now. When I was passing by the fallen feather mountain with Master, I saw a beautiful lady standing at the edge of the mountain. She was calling Tianyun's name. She said that she didn't know when Tianyun would see her again. I wanted to look at that lady more, but Master dragged me away. He said that I shouldn't look at her randomly. Otherwise, I might get myself killed. He Ronkuin scratched his head in embarrassment. He smiled and said, maybe it's someone with the same name. I'm not sure if their surname is E. Anyway, they both call her Tunyun. Chapter 663. Tell me everything in detail. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed with surprise. He didn't expect to stumble upon some news by accident. He Ronkuin had seen Shi Shuiyun before. Although there were many people with the same name in the world, there was a high chance that it was Shi Shuiyun. Actually, I didn't see it very clearly. The snow in the fallen feather mountain is too heavy. They can stand on the mountain for so long, so their cultivation is definitely not low. We didn't dare to look too much. Master knew this, so he hurriedly pulled me away. He Ronkuin scratched his head and said, that's all. I just heard the two words Tianyun, which is quite similar to Brother Yi's name. The main thing is that the girl is too beautiful, so I just remembered. Fallen Feather Mountain, Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. He had heard a little about this place from the peddlers, but he didn't think that Shi Shuiyun was staying here. It was possible that she was just passing by and took a rest on the way. Immediately, he took out a piece of paper and quickly drew Shi Shuiyun's appearance on it. Then he showed it to He Ronkuin. The girl you saw, did she look like this? Yes. That's her. Brothery, your drawing is too good. It seems that you know that fairy-like girl? He Ronkuin said enviously. Yes. Do you know where she is or what sect she is from? As long as you tell me, I will reward you handsomely. Yi Tianyun's heart is a bit excited. His originally calm mood at this moment, there is a bit of surprise. Wei Feizhou, who was next to Yi Tianyun, wanted to say something, but seeing Yi Tianyun's proficiency in drawing such a portrait, it was obvious that he knew Shi Shuiyun, and his expression immediately became dignified. Wei Feizhou was not a fool. He just always wanted to play it safe and didn't want to cause trouble everywhere. It didn't mean that he didn't know anything. He could see a lot of things from this. What? No sect? It could be made up. I'm not too sure about this. I only saw that they were like fairies. As for what sect they are from, I don't know. He Ronkuin said embarrassedly. Judging from their clothes, this is the first time I've seen them. I didn't dare to say how many places I had seen, but I had seen most factions' attire. However, this was definitely the first time I had seen such a unique attire. It's very likely that they're from a hidden clan. Their most distinctive feature is that there's a light red plum blossom painted on their clothes, making them look otherworldly. I dare say that it's definitely a powerful hidden clan. At the very least, it's at the level of an empire. It's just that they've been living in seclusion, which is why we don't see them often. Wei Feizhou voiced out his judgment. He wasn't like his disciple, who only stared at their faces. Instead, he looked at every detail of them before making a judgment. If he wasn't someone to be trifled with, he would quickly drag his disciple away. He couldn't even look at him for too long. If one were to encounter an arrogant person, a few glances might cause the other party to gouge out one's eyes. Yi Tianyun's gaze wandered. He couldn't help but look at Wei Feizhou in a higher light. It seemed like Wei Feizhou was a good teacher. It wasn't that he was too cold-blooded, but that the situation was too harsh, so he didn't dare to do good things casually. Sometimes, it was easy to overreach oneself. Hidden clan, he had considered hidden clans before, but since they were hidden clans, he knew very little about them. This way, the 7 or 8 forces that he had previously judged were immediately rejected. It saved him a lot of effort. However, he had a big piece of information, and that was the carving of plum blossoms. This was a rather significant feature. If he went to a bigger force and asked, he would be able to get the relevant information. Wei Feizhou was in a small force, so it was normal that he didn't know. Some hidden clans would only be heard of in the bigger forces. If anyone knew about it, then it wouldn't be a hidden clan. It's about to begin. Ronkuin, hurry up and go in. Wei Feizhou hurriedly let his disciple in. The door was already slowly opening. If he went in now, the good spots would be snatched up. There were too many cultivators who met the requirements, so he had to hurry up. He Ronkuin nodded and rushed in. When he was about to go in, he couldn't help but say to Yin, "Brother E, aren't you coming with us? We can't waste this opportunity." "There's no need. I said I would give you an opportunity, so I'm giving you an opportunity. I'm not here for a trial, but to give you an opportunity." Lee Tianyun smiled slightly. He had gained a lot this time. It was much better than asking those peddlers. This was a very accurate piece of information, which made him take care of them a little more. Repaying kindness had always been his principle. "Give me an opportunity?" He Ronkuin waved his hand and said helplessly, "If you don't go in, I'll go in first." With that said, he hurriedly went in. However, there were too many people, so it was difficult to squeeze in. A moment later, he felt a force spreading out from his side, forcefully squeezing out a path for him, allowing him to easily walk in. Although he was puzzled, he was still anxious. There were no good spots, so he hurriedly went in. Wei Feizhou was confused when he saw his disciple enter so easily. There were so many people, and he should have slowly squeezed in. Why was it so easy? "Let's go in and take a look." Yi Tianyun said calmly, "Let's see your disciple's potential. I wonder how high he can climb." As he said that, he walked in with his hands behind his back. Wei Feizhou was stunned, but he still followed. Just as he was about to say something, he felt the people squeezing in were pushed away by an invisible force. They did not even touch the hem of his clothes. This, Wei Feizhou was shocked. Although he could do this, he could not do it so smoothly. This meant that the young man in front of him had a higher cultivation level than him, or that his control was even more amazing. Soon, Yi Tianyun led him inside. They were not here to participate in the trial, but they could watch from the side. Inside was undoubtedly the countless stairs that led to the top. There were more than 1,000 levels. As soon as they entered, they heard quarreling sounds. "Kid, this spot is mine. If you know what's good for you, get out of my way." A handsome young man shouted at He Ronkuin. "I obviously got this spot first." With the help of Yi Tianyun, He Ronkuin was able to choose a good spot easily. Although this spot was very spacious, most people chose the middle spot, which was undoubtedly the best place to climb up. There were relatively few spots, so it was very popular. "If you say no again, believe it or not, I will throw you out of here," the young man said coldly. Two core transformation stage cultivators rushed to the side and looked at He Ronkuin coldly. They wanted to scare him away. He Ronkuin just wanted to say something, but Yi Tianyun's indifferent voice sounded in his ears. Chapter 664. This is the young master of the Duo family. He belongs to a third-grade force. Wei Feizhou said hurriedly. And it is not an ordinary third-grade force. It is close to the power of an empire. Don't provoke him easily. Who are you, kid? Duo Jard looked at him coldly. How dare you talk to me like this? Do you know who I am? A third-grade force dares to be arrogant in front of me. Tianyun said indifferently. I will give you one chance. Go somewhere else. I will protect him. I advise you not to force me to do anything. If your father kneels in front of me, I will kill you with one slap. Wei Feizhou's face turned pale. He did not expect this friend of his to be so arrogant. If he wanted to be arrogant, he would have to look at the guards around him. Even a random guard was much stronger than him. What if they fought? Yo, you're really arrogant. It sounds like you've destroyed an empire before. Dorjard's eyes turned cold, and killing intent surged in the depths of his eyes. Yes, I have destroyed an empire. Yi Tianyun said indifferently. Not to mention an empire, I have destroyed a divine kingdom. The cultivator next to him suddenly laughed. He did not even prepare a draft when he boasted. It was really funny. Wei Feizhou wanted to cry. Wasn't he too arrogant? There were many powerful forces around. If he was in a different position, although it would not be good, it was still acceptable. This kid is the most arrogant I have ever seen. He has destroyed a divine kingdom? If he had destroyed a divine kingdom, I would still be a god king. The world is big. What kind of people are there? This kid is so arrogant. He will die soon. This is young Master Duo Jard. He is the eldest young master of the Duo family. His status is not low. This time, he has 2 core transformation stage guards accompanying him. He is really arrogant. The cultivators next to him laughed. They all thought that Yi Tianyun was going to die. Is that so? As if it is true. Break his hands and feet and throw him out. If you want my father to kneel in front of you, then kneel in front of me right now. Dorgard's smile faded and became extremely cold. He signaled his men to break Yi Tianyun's limbs. Yes, young master. The 2 core transformation experts sneered and surrounded Yi Tianyun, ready to break his hands and feet. When Wei Feizhou saw this, he braced himself and walked out. He said apologetically, "Honorable young master, I'm really sorry. We were just talking nonsense. Please forgive us. We'll take them away now. This position belongs to you." "Oh, it seems that you are their master?" Dorgard looked at him coldly and said, "Do you think it's useful to apologize now? Break their arms and legs and throw them out." The 2 core transformation stage cultivators flashed and rushed towards Yi Tianyun. Wei Feizhou shouted, "Hurry up and leave." He had no choice but to bite the bullet. Otherwise, his hands and feet would be broken. He just wanted to clean up Yi Tianyun's mess. They had just met each other and they were already in trouble? Kneel down. Yi Tianyun looked around and saw the 2 core transformation stage cultivators kneel down in front of him. A terrifying force came from the sky and almost made them kneel to the ground. If the floor wasn't hard enough, they would have broken their knees. Although the floor wasn't broken, their knees were broken. Not only the 2 guards, but Dorgard also knelt down. Their knees were immediately broken. With the force of 1,000,000 jin or even 10,000,000 jin, it would be hard for them not to have their knees crushed. Ah! Dorgard screamed in pain. His knees were broken into powder. How could he not be in pain? The 2 guards were the same. Their bodies were drenched in cold sweat, and their complexions were frighteningly pale. Do you know who I am? I am from the house of Duolong. Crack! Dorgard's whole body was stuck to the ground. This time, not only his knees, but most of the bones in his body were broken. He was basically crippled. However, as long as there was a good ointment, he could easily recover. The problem was that he had broken so many bones. If he wanted to recover, he would have to lie in bed for a few months. Being unable to move for a few months, it was terrifying. Not only Dorgard, but even the 2 guards next to him were prostrating themselves on the ground. They were truly prostrating themselves on the ground. All the bones in their body were broken. No matter how strong a core transformation stage cultivator was, they would have to kneel down. The surrounding people were shocked when they saw this. These were 2 core transformation stage cultivators. They knelt down just like that. It was as if there was some magic in his tone that made them kneel down and bow down. Who would have thought that Yi Tianyun used his powerful aura to make them kneel down instead of charming them? Even Wei Feizhou was shocked. Just what kind of power could do this? Why you still in a daze? Others have already started. Why don't you start? Yi Tianyun looked at He Rongkuan, who was still in a daze. He Rongkuan finally reacted and hurriedly began to climb up the stairs, layer by layer. Yi Tianyun waved his hand and a wine table appeared on the side. He sat down and gestured to Tianyun. "You also sit down. This will take some time. Let's sit down and watch." In the situation where there were so many people here, Yi Tianyun still set up a wine table to drink. He was really leisurely and elegant. The problem was that Dorgard and the other guards were still kneeling on the side. It was really exaggerated. If it was someone else, they would not dare to drink. Yes. Wei Feizhou sat down calmly and poured wine for Yi Tianyun. From this, he could see that Yi Tianyun's strength was very strong. It was absolutely amazing. Yi Tianyun's strength was at least above the void spirit stage. If Yi Tianyun didn't have this kind of strength, how could he use his aura to suppress a core transformation stage cultivator? At such a young age, it was very likely that Yi Tianyun came from a big force. Yi Tianyun slowly drank the wine and watched He Rongkuan climb up the stairs step by step, trying to understand the power of the stairs. Of course, this staircase didn't contain any martial arts. It was different from the ghost world. but it could help him improve his cultivation. If he wanted to learn martial arts, he must climb to the top. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any martial arts. Yi Tianyun looked at Wei Feizhou and smiled. He had to admit that Wei Feizhou was really smart. He didn't run away with his guards but stood in front of them. This proved that Wei Feizhou had a strong sense of responsibility. Chapter 665. There was a very strange scene in the hall. Two people were sitting at a table, slowly tasting fine wine while watching many young talents climb the stairs. Three of them were kneeling on the ground. The ground had long been dyed red with blood or drenched with sweat. It looked very terrifying. The other forces at the side couldn't help but sweat for them. Even though they knew they were from the House of Dragons, they were still so overbearing. Could it be that their background was really terrifying? Or were they disciples of Imperial forces or Scandinavian forces? The Imperial forces could still bear it, but if it was a Scandinavian force, the House of Dragons not only had to kowtow and apologize, but they also had to compensate. This was the terror of the power of a background. I am the young master of the House of Dragons. Why, you're dead? Dorjard roared. Being forced to kneel in front of so many people, one could imagine the humiliation in his heart. I'm dead? Tianyun shook his head and said, even now, you're still so stubborn. You really can't be taught. It seems that you've always worshipped using force to suppress people. Now I'm suppressing you. I wonder when your people will arrive? As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying power turned into a palm from the side and slapped down on Yi Tianyun from the air. Yi Tianyun lightly swung his hand, and the huge golden palm was smashed into powder, turning into countless stars that drifted away. This attack was so terrifying to others, but in Yi Tianyun's eyes, it was like a mosquito flying by. He easily slapped it away. Not bad. You've made our people kneel for so long. It seems that you're really coming for our House of Dragons. A middle-aged man walked out from the crowd. His aura was extremely strong, like a sharp sword stabbing into everyone's heart. Second Elder. When Dorjard saw this person, he hurriedly shouted, Second Elder, save me. Coming for you? Do you think you're qualified? Yi Tianyun said indifferently, it was you who came to find trouble first. The positions were decided by us first, and you still want to steal my position. Not only do you want to steal my position, but you also want to break my arms and legs? Since that's the case, I'll break your arms and legs first. These positions belong to those who are capable. What's wrong with that? The second elder said sternly, I know you have some ability, but you should know when to stop. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. Second elder, kill him. Kill him for me. Dorjard roared. He did not want this matter to end so easily. How could such a great humiliation disappear just like that? Your young master wants to break my arms and legs, then throw me out. There's a possibility that I might die outside, and you're telling me to forget about it now? Yi Tianyun said calmly, speaking of which, you said that you're not polite. How is that not polite? With just the two of you. He calmly tasted the wine with an indifferent expression. Wei Feizhou, who was beside him, was trembling in fear. The second elder in front of him was a void spirit stage expert, much stronger than him. They were simply not on the same level. You two? Soon, Wei Feizhou heard the problem. The second elder's face sank. Without saying anything, he immediately rushed towards Yi Tianyun. With a casual wave of his hand, a long sword fell into his hand. With a flash of cold light, he slashed down as fast as lightning. One sword to break mountains and rivers. At the same time, a black shadow flashed behind Yi Tianyun. Similarly, a sword light flashed behind him, and a cold aura instantly locked the two of them. A pincer attack. This was their plan. From the beginning, they had planned to do a pincer attack, not to negotiate. Making their young master kneel on the ground for so long, breaking many of his bones. Would they forgive Yi Tianyun just because of this? This was simply impossible. If they didn't subdue Yi Tianyun, Duo Long Mansion's face wouldn't be worth it. They wouldn't even need to mingle outside. Wei Feizhou was so scared that he hurriedly stood up and subconsciously drew his sword to block the attack. However, Yun gently put down the wine and said in a majestic voice, "Kneel." The two people who were rushing towards Yun with swords immediately felt a terrifying force falling from the sky. This force made them lose their balance and immediately pressed them to the ground. Boom! After heavily kneeling on the ground at the same time, a crack sound was heard. Many of their bones were broken, and blood immediately flowed out from their knees. Even if they were void spirit stage experts, they still knelt on the ground and prostrated themselves. All the bones in his body made a cracking sound as they were crushed one by one. The crisp sound was enough to make one's hair stand on end. This was really terrifying. A dignified void spirit stage expert knelt down and couldn't even move. Just by kneeling down, everyone fiercely sucked in a breath of cold air. If it was a core transformation stage expert, it would be fine. But now 2 elders were easily suppressed? This meant that this young man's cultivation was even more amazing, or he was protected by a powerful expert. They felt that the latter was more likely. After all, Yun was so young, how could it be him? No matter who did it, it didn't matter anymore. The 2 elders of Duo Long Mansion just knelt in front of the young man. On the contrary, the young man was still slowly tasting the wine with a calm face, as if what happened here had nothing to do with him. "What are you so nervous about? Sit down and drink." Yun turned his head and looked at Hironkuen, who had climbed more than 200 steps. "Not bad, his talent is very good. It seems that the disciple you have chosen is very talented." Hironkuen had climbed more than 200 steps, which was above average compared to the other disciples. Although it was not the top level, it looked quite stable, which meant that there was still a lot of potential to be excavated. That's. Wei Feizhou wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He was not as calm as Yun. How could he stay calm when the 2 elders were kneeling beside him? Now, the 2 elders finally knew what kind of existence they were facing. If Yun was able to suppress them so easily, it meant that he was very strong, or he had a powerful bodyguard. If it was a guard, he would at least be at the late Spirit King stage, or at least 7th layer Spirit King stage, to be able to suppress him with his aura. This meant that they were facing a very strong Spirit King stage expert. Although Duo Long Mansion's foundation was not bad, having a late Spirit King stage expert as an enemy was not a good thing. This time, Duo Jada finally knew what kind of strong expert they were facing. Even the 2 strongest elders of Duo Long Mansion were kneeling in front of him. Based on this situation, doesn't it mean that even his father couldn't suppress Yun? Chapter 666. Quiet. It was so quiet that it was terrifying. Everyone stared blankly at Yun. They had no idea what Yun's identity was. They all guessed that he might be a disciple of an empire or a divine nation. Both were possible. Otherwise, 2 void spirit stage experts were powerless to resist and were forced to kneel here. It was really shocking. This time, no one dared to make a sound. They didn't dare to look down on Yun anymore. Those who were gloating over his misfortune obediently shut their mouths. Who knew if he would suddenly slap them? At that time, they would be forced to kneel like the people of Dragon Palace. That would be a joke. The most terrifying thing was that Yun was calmly tasting the wine as if it had nothing to do with him. With one look, one could tell that he had experienced this many times. Otherwise, how could he be so calm? At this time, everyone remembered what Yun had said before. Not to mention an empire, even a divine nation had been destroyed. Could it be true? An empire being destroyed was nothing, but a divine nation being destroyed, wasn't this a bit too exaggerated? Not bad, not bad. The further he goes, the more outstanding his level will be. Yun was very satisfied with Hironkuen. He felt that Hironkuen was a promising talent. At first, Hironkuen's level was above average. Later on, Hironkuen did not fall behind. Instead, Hironkuen caught up and climbed up step by step. This made him admire Hironkuen a bit more. His talent was definitely not low. If his talent was too low, it would be difficult for him to climb up. Of course, it would be easier for those with high cultivation. The problem was, those with high cultivation would not be low. The two were not contradictory, but coexisted. Those with high cultivation would definitely not be low in talent. Those who were too slow would not be able to break through. However, there were exceptions to everything. Those who were a bit slow would still be able to break through after being pelted with all kinds of miraculous pills. Yes, it's a pity that my ability is limited. Otherwise, he would definitely turn into a dragon. Wei Feizhou sighed. Such a good disciple, but the lack of resources was also a problem. Don't worry, I will give him a good fortune. Yi Tianyun smiled and did not continue. Wei Feizhou didn't ask any further. His eyes flickered as he realized that he was now looking forward to the word, good fortune. Previously, Zhang Xian had thought that he was bragging, but from the looks of it now, he wasn't bragging but was telling the truth. In the following period of time, the people of the multi-dragon house were all lying on the ground. No matter how much they roared, it was useless. On the contrary, those who roared were pressed down even further. Even their mouths were pressed against the ground, and they could only make woo-woo sounds. His ruthless methods caused one's hair to stand on end. If he continued to press him against the ground, even his teeth would be crushed. This was considered light. At least he was still alive. Time passed quickly. Climbing this place wasn't going to end so quickly. It would take at least a few days. In just a few days, He Rongkuan had climbed to more than 800. His speed was quite impressive, and he even made it to the top 5. Based on this, he would definitely be able to enter the first round of the trial. According to the results of the trial, entering the top 30 would be considered a success. He was already in the 5th place, so he didn't feel any pressure at all. He didn't even need Yi Tianyun's help. He can easily enter the first round. His talent is really amazing. Who the hell are you? How dare you do this to my people? At this time, a middle-aged man walked out from the crowd. He was extremely angry, and his Spirit King stage cultivation instantly erupted. His aura swept across the crowd. However, most of the people present were not weak. Some of them were at Void Spirit stage, while others were at Spirit King stage. Most of them were at Core Transformation stage. They were either guards or disciples, but they didn't dare to provoke Yi Tianyun. The middle-aged man in front of Yi Tianyun was the leader of the multi-dragon house, Duo Jiun. Although his cultivation was not low, he was at the 2nd layer of Spirit King stage, but in Yi Tianyun's eyes, he could easily kill him. Friend, I don't know what Duo Jiun has done, but you are not giving multi-dragon house any face by doing this. At this time, another Spirit King stage expert stood out. He was also a member of the multi-dragon house, and obviously, he was the Great Elder. 2 Spirit King stage experts released their aura and rushed towards Yi Tianyun. Wei Feizhou's face sank. Sure enough, things have gotten out of hand, and it seems like it won't end well. But seeing Yi Tianyun can still be so calm, it makes him sigh. Obviously he is a person who has seen a lot of things. He wants to break my arms and legs, is that enough? Yi Tianyun said indifferently. I just want him to have a taste of his own medicine. Even if I break your arms and legs, so what? Duo Jiyuan said coldly. No matter who you are, you will die today. I will break your bones inch by inch and then feed you to the dogs. This ruthless method was exactly the same as his son's. Most of the time, he spoke with brute force and was unreasonable. As for being unreasonable, Yi Tianyun liked it very much. Kneel down and talk. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold, and their eyes immediately blurred. Both of them were at the 5th layer of Spirit King stage, so he could easily control them with his Eye of Charm. Yes. The 2 Spirit King stage experts knelt down in front of Yi Tianyun, which surprised everyone. Even Spirit King stage experts couldn't withstand the pressure? Wasn't this a little too abnormal? Wei Feizhou was so shocked that he stood up. He didn't even notice that the wine in his cup had spilled. Even a Spirit King stage cultivator had to kneel down? What kind of power was this? He thought that the Spirit King stage was the peak of the Spirit King stage, but now it seems like it's the peak of the Spirit King stage. But how can a Spirit King stage expert make an early Spirit King stage expert kneel down? Wei Feizhou didn't have such a cultivation, so he couldn't imagine the difference in strength between them. Oh my god! What did I just see? All the experts of the Multi-Dragon House are kneeling in front of me. The House of Multiple Dragons has really kicked an iron plate. It's too scary. What kind of cultivation does he have to have such ability? I'm afraid he's at the peak of the Spirit King stage, or is he a Saint King? Holy King stage. This is too scary. Is the Holy King nearby? Their hearts trembled fiercely. They had never seen a Saint King before. Saint Kings were all high and mighty existences, and they were often elusive existences that could not be seen. Generally, Saint King stage experts were the divine nation's masters or emperors. How could they see a Holy King stage expert? Although the Heaven Ascending Divine Altar was a good place, Holy King stage experts wouldn't come here. Even if the divine nation sent people here to train, they would be accompanied by core transformation stage experts or void spirit stage experts. Do you believe that if I kill you, your father won't dare to say a word? Yi Tianyun looked at Duo Jiyuan indifferently. Chapter 667. Even his father and the great elder were kneeling on the side, as if they had gone silly, obediently kneeling on the ground, not uttering a single word of complaint. Only now did Duo Jiada realize that he was in big trouble, and it was a very serious one. All the experts of the Duo Long Mansion came out, but it was still useless. They were all suppressed by Yun, who was almost the same age as him. Wu, Dalgard cried out in terror, but he found that he could only make this sound. He could not make any other sound, and could only make a whimper. Originally, I just wanted to punish you, but who knew that your whole family is so arrogant? You think you can bully people just because you have a strong background? The weak are prey to the strong, but now it's my turn to eat you. Are you ready? Yi Tianyun said indifferently. He hated people who bullied people just because they had a strong background. There were many things that belonged to those who were capable. This was not wrong. But this kind of arrogant person who broke the legs of others was really not something he should be angry with. Since they wanted to play the game of the strong, he was very happy to do so. If he couldn't solve it with one punch, then he would solve it with 2 punches. Woo! Duo Jiada screamed again as if he was begging for mercy. That's enough, get out of here. Don't stain this place with blood. Yi Tianyun waved his hand, and immediately, Duo Jiyuan and the Great Elder stood up and grabbed Duo Jiada and left. Without a doubt, Duo Jiyuan and the Great Elder were going to take care of them. There was nothing more ruthless than this. This was the price they had to pay for what they did. Suddenly, the place became very quiet. Duo Jiyuan dragged his son out by himself. This scene was really unimaginable, and no one knew what happened. No matter what happened, no one dared to say a word. They all obediently kept their mouths shut. As for some of the more powerful divine nations' powers, they wouldn't provoke experts if they had nothing better to do. Even if they relied on their own strength, no one was willing to provoke a strong enemy. I'm the Zhuqiu Divine Nation's patrol envoy. I've brought a bottle of wine with me. Would you like to have a drink with me? A Spirit King stage expert came over with a bottle of wine in his hand. Of course, those who come are guests, please sit. Yun gestured for him to sit down. As long as they didn't provoke him, he would be happy to make friends with them. Thank you, friend. The oracle of the Zhuqiu Holy Kingdom poured him a cup of wine and asked, Friend, which holy kingdom are you from? I don't belong to any sect. You don't have to investigate my background. I don't belong to any sect, at least in the heaven realm. Yi Tianyun said indifferently. The Zhuqiu Holy Nation's oracle's eyes lit up. Just this sentence alone was enough for him to understand a lot of things. It meant that Yi Tianyun did not have any influence here. It meant that he had influence in the netherworld. They didn't think about the mortal realm. The mortal realm was relatively ordinary. How could it have such powerful guards or power? It seems that friend is not from the heaven realm. May I know if you are willing to come to my holy kingdom as a guest? The oracle of the Zhuqiu Holy Kingdom immediately invited Yi Tianyun. The small forces were afraid of Yi Tianyun, but the Holy Kingdom was not. I am the divine envoy of the Rain-Autumn Divine Kingdom. This is a specialty of our Holy Kingdom, Autumn Rain Divine Pill. As long as you soak it in water or wine, it will taste even better. It will have a refreshing taste. I guarantee that you will be satisfied. As he spoke, he threw it into the wine cup. The wine in the wine cup immediately changed and became incomparably fragrant. Just the smell alone was very fresh, and the taste was definitely better when drunk. I am the divine envoy of the Dream Cloud Divine Kingdom. This is our, one by one, the divine envoys of the divine kingdoms and empires came to present their treasures to Yi Tianyun. As divine envoys, they knew how to communicate with others. They could smell the aura of a powerful force, so they immediately came to make friends with Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun could easily suppress so many Spirit King stage experts, so how could he be weak? No matter what, they had to rope him in as it would be a great help to their forces. Wei Feizhou, who was at the side, also received quite a lot of benefits. Some were given pills or weapons. Since Wei Feizhou is sitting next to Yi Tianyun, they must have some kind of relationship with Yi Tianyun. Wei Feizhou was dumbfounded. He never thought that he would receive such treatment. There were so many divine envoys in front of him, and each of them had higher cultivation than him, but they still flattered him like this. Now, he was not in a dream, but in reality. Yi Tianyun did not hesitate and accepted them one by one. It was not a bad thing to make friends with the Divine Kingdom's forces. Well, you are too polite, I will visit you when I have time. Yi Tianyun smiled indifferently, which is equivalent to accepting their kindness. Each of the god envoys wore a smile on their faces. Even though it was a pity that they couldn't come over immediately, they could at least give him some gifts. Moreover, the things they gave out weren't particularly valuable. They were just ordinary things. But for those with lower cultivation, they were treasures. Wei Feizhou was dazzled by the gifts, and he didn't dare to accept them. He planned to give them back to Yi Tianyun later. At this time, the climbing of the stairs was almost over. Soon, He Rongkuan successfully reached the top with the third place. The talent of the top two was even more amazing, and Yi Tianyun couldn't help but look up to them, especially the first place. However, he only took a glance at it. He didn't have any other intentions. These were the disciples of the Divine Kingdom's forces. If they didn't even have this kind of talent, then there was no value in cultivating them. It's almost time, let's go and watch the next one. Yi Tianyun stood up and put away the things on the table. At this time, there were almost 30 people standing on the top. After the 30th trial taker went up, it meant that this place was officially over. The rest of the cultivators who were climbing were immediately kicked out and couldn't continue to climb. The rest of them could only wait, but they couldn't go up and watch. They were completely blocked outside. This place was much stricter than the Netherworld. The next time they could meet was when the final trial ended and they were teleported out. Let's go up and see the results. Yi Tianyun walked forward with his hands clasped behind his back. But we can't go up. If we go up, we will be stopped. Before Wei Feizhou could finish his words, he saw that Yi Tianyun had already walked up without any obstruction. This scene stunned everyone. Didn't they say that they couldn't go up? All of you, come up. Don't you want to know the situation of the people you brought? Yi Tianyun said to the other Divine Kingdom's divine envoys. Who didn't covet the Heaven Ascension Divine Altar? Who didn't covet the inheritance? It was just that they never had the chance to obtain it. Now that he had a chance, but he missed it, how could he not regret it? Although that was the case, many people had some devious thoughts in their hearts. However, when they recalled how Yi Tianyun had easily suppressed so many spirit kings, their hearts turned cold again. Many forces still obediently put away these thoughts. More importantly, as a descendant of the Divine King, it was hard to guarantee that he had other powers. Could it be that he was able to make so many experts kneel down because this is his territory? It's possible. This place is under his control. Of course, he can use his power to suppress everything. If he goes out, I'm afraid he won't have the chance to show off. If this news gets out, then it's a big piece of meat. It's hard to guarantee that some forces in the dark will do some sneaky things behind his back. Many people immediately thought of the power that suppressed the spirit kings before. It's very likely that it came from this heaven ascension divine altar. Lee Tianyun is so young. How could he have such a heaven-defying power? Or did he not rely on external forces? For a time, some people showed a disdainful expression. The voices here were heard by Lee Tianyun, who was in front of him, and he smiled faintly. He didn't expect that there would be people who have crooked thoughts about him. But he was still very happy now. Originally, he wanted to give himself an identity to make things easier for him. Who knew that there would still be people who have crooked thoughts about him? But in this case, he didn't mind eradicating some big forces to show his strength and earn some crazy points and experience. If he directly killed them, not only would he not get any benefits, he would also lose some experience. To put it bluntly, he can't kill indiscriminately. Many of the divine envoys who followed behind Lee Tianyun were shocked speechless. They also thought of many things in this regard. They speculated that Lee Tianyun may be the descendant of the heaven-creating divine king, or the inheritor. Wei Feizhou really knew what good fortune is. Why did he keep looking at Rongkuan? It turns out that this place is under his control. How can he not control it at will? If he wants to go up, he can go up, and if he doesn't want to go up, he can make them roll down. Young Master Yi, these things? Wei Feizhou even changed the way he addressed Lee Tianyun, and at the same time, he handed over the tributes. You keep these, they are useless to me. Lee Tianyun shook his head and motioned him to keep them. Thank you, young master. Wei Feizhou was very grateful, and his attitude has become a lot more humble. He felt that even if he was Lee Tianyun's servant, he would be considered to be climbing up the social ladder. The descendant of the heaven-creating divine king might not even be a servant. Excuse me, are you a descendant of the heaven-creating divine king, or an inheritor or something? One of the divine envoys mustered up the courage to come over and ask. You can say that, inheritor. Lee Tianyun said truthfully. He didn't hide anything. He originally wanted to use this identity. If he didn't have any identity, others would think that his status was too low and wouldn't deal with him. The reason why he did this was very simple. It would make it easier for him to find Shuayun. Otherwise, why would he go to their door to ask about things? Was he going to rush up and punch them to death and then interrogate them? Killing indiscriminately will reduce his experience. The sin value of the other party is not high, and killing them would be a loss for him. Inheritor. They were startled, and immediately their eyes showed a fanatical look. They had never seen an inheritor before, and now that there was an inheritor, they undoubtedly became more enthusiastic. Lee Tianyun didn't say much and led them inside. Soon they came to the towering steps inside. Rongkuan and the others have already begun to climb up. After all, after they were teleported in, they will continue the trial. However, when they saw Lee Tianyun and the others come in, they were really stunned. Wasn't it impossible for them to come in? How can someone come in? Let's continue to watch here and see how many people can go up. Lee Tianyun smiled slightly, and once again summoned a few wine tables. Let everyone sit down together to taste the wine and watch the trial. It's just that everyone's thoughts are different now. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.